the Morium Demonic Alliance, which is also known as the Devil's Hall. And among all the huge crowd that was there, we see someone saying, "Man, there's a massive gathering of people here." Then another person responds, "Of course, that's just how it is. They say they'll take anyone, no matter what faction or sect they come from, and they'll teach them the demonic martial arts as long as they have the potential. Only an idiot would let an opportunity like this slip away for nothing." So his friend says, "I would have joined too if I were younger." The first guy replies, "What? Has someone already died?" And we see a young boy walking through the crowd of adults around him. And the second person says, "What? The 10th Devil Hall tournament hasn't even started yet. Are you jumping to conclusions again?" So the other man replies, "If that's the case, then who brought the Undertaker here?" And by that, he means that young boy standing in front of him. And we see that boy looking at his place and saying, "This is only the beginning, great-grandfather." And we learn that On Sol is the name his grandfather gave him after finding him in the snowfield where he was abandoned. From him, he learned how to be an undertaker, because his grandfather was also an undertaker himself. Then we go into a flashback and see the little boy saying, "I think he's really skilled in the art of fast dueling." So his grandfather asked him, "Oh yeah, and what makes you think that?" He replies, "It was a tough job, and we faced a lot of hatred because of it, but honestly, we didn't really care." The little boy continues, "This guy is skinny, but the muscles in his left leg are really tight and defined, especially the front part of his shin. This trait is linked to the dueling style I mentioned." So the grandfather tells them, "You've got a sharp eye, kid. You're an undertaker. It's like it was handed to me on a silver platter, too." He says, "Yeah, we've been through that, too." My grandfather was always by my side through it all. Until that day came. One day, we see the grandfather waking up as a long, strong wind blows. We see the grandfather waiting for something. While he's waiting, he says, "They say good people never come looking for you, and the people who are looking for you could never be good people." He says, "Wake up." So the little boy wakes up and says, "Yes, Grandpa?" Then the grandfather says, "Let's play a game where the winner is the one who can pretend to be dead the best." The boy asks, "At this hour, Grandpa?" The grandfather replies, "If you do a good job this time, I'll get you the clothes and swords you've really wanted." The boy says, "Really, Grandpa?" The grandfather says, "Try to hold out until morning this time." Okay. The boy asks, "Hold out until morning?" Then he locks him inside something like a coffin. He looks around, and the grandfather pulls out a sword in a really strange way. And as soon as he steps out of the place where they were sitting, he hears a voice saying, "You hid yourself really well, little mouse. Don't you think so?" Then a masked person appears, or someone wearing something on his face so we can't see him. "Oh, Demon of the Seven Blades, Boji Yang." Boji replies, "No one has called me by that title in a long time." The man replies, "You left your position as Deputy Lord of the Devil's Hall just to make a living doing this lousy job?" Then the strange man attacks Boji, trying to stab him multiple times. But Boji says, "I took the job of Undertaker not to make a living, but for atonement." He blocks the incoming blow with just his hand. Boji continues, "I'll give you my life, but let's do it somewhere else. I don't like innocent people here getting hurt." The strange man laughs a long, loud laugh and says, "All right, but don't even think about trying to escape." Grandpa Bojin walks after him. After a long time, when the sun rises, we see the coffin shaken and moving, and its door comes off. The boy, Yual, says, "I can't take it anymore. I can't take it any longer. I really want this sword, Cozy. But the cold is killing me, Grandpa. Where did it go?" Usually, he's waiting for me when we play this game. Did he call the security guards again? Yeah, those people don't even consider us human just because we're undertakers. But as soon as he opens the door, he literally finds sword strikes everywhere, and the ground is wrecked in front of him. And he says this. Then he starts running to a place. And as soon as he gets there, he says, "What is this, Grandpa?" And he sees Grandpa Bojin, and his eyes are literally not in their place. And there's a lot of blood pouring from him. His body is also covered in blood, and even both of his arms are completely gone. So he runs to Yule and says, "Grandpa, how, who?" So Bojin says to him, "Are you Yule?" So Yule says, "Drawn, yeah, it's me. Grandpa, I'm right here in front of you. What happened?" So Bojin says to him, "I'm really sorry. I think my time has come. If I die, don't keep working as a mortician just because you promised to bury me." Yule calls out to him, terrified, and says, "Don't talk, Grandpa, please." So Bojin says to him, "Yule, listen to me very carefully. Never, ever think about revenge." Yul starts crying and says, "No way." They're the ones who did this to you, right? There's no way I could ever forgive them, or that I could ever know you. You always used to say there's hardly any difference between this world and hell. I'd rather go to hell with you than stay here without you. So Bajin says to him, I thought I would get over this easily now that I'm on the verge of death. You will. This is my last request. Please, run away. Run far, far away. And know well that the time I spent with you was the most precious and happiest thing in my life. After that, Grandpa Bajin takes his last breath, leaving behind Yule, who is crying his heart out. And Grandpa Bojin's body falls in front of our hero Yule, who can't believe what his eyes are seeing. Then we see him carrying Grandpa's body, and he's got both of his arms too. He says, You told me not to think about revenge on them, to protect me. What? I'm sorry, Grandpa, but this time I won't grant your request. Not ever. His arms were cut off at the same time, one from the top and one from the bottom. That's a really rare move. On top of that, he changed his stance in the middle of striking Grandpa Bojin's hands. And then he decided to stab him in both eyes. With the strange sword technique, it must belong to the demonic path. From that path, the technique that can create wounds similar to Tianshu Yoga's technique in 93 marks points to the use of a hidden weapon. Even the sky full of falling flowers only causes 66 marks at most. It doesn't look like this was done by more than one person at the same time. Rather, this is the work of a single hidden weapon that can fire hundreds of times at once. Not to mention under his tongue and beneath his fingernails, which have changed color. This happens when a person is poisoned with a deadly toxin that causes the flesh and blood to rot. One of those who walk the demonic path, who learn Tianshu Yoga, possesses a high-caliber hidden weapon and uses deadly poisons that cause flesh and blood to rot. It's impossible to find many people who fit that description. I will find you, even if it costs me my life. And then he cries somewhere else. And we return to the present, to the scene where our story began. We see that little boy, UL, as he signs something, while the person next to him says, Oh my god, what kind of rural sect does the Jian Yang clan even belong to? Maybe he came here and got scared when he saw the agreement papers, realizing he had to give up his bodily autonomy. And if he dies or anything happens to him, we're not responsible for that. And then one of the guards says to him, So why did you even come if you weren't planning to agree? But here, he gives our hero a really terrifying look. And our hero cuts his finger and signs the contract with his blood. And he says, At the moment my grandfather passed away, my life was shattered to pieces, and I found no path except revenge. Welcome to me. That's why this competition will be the first of my sins on the path I've chosen. Then he keeps walking inside, heading to the place where there are a lot of people. As for us, we learn that the traditional and non-traditional sects, in other words, the orthodox and the non-orthodox, the struggle between the two dominant powers over this morium has lasted for many years. The traditional sects who seek to achieve justice are led by the Morium Alliance. The non-traditional or non-orthodox sects, who are centered around the Hall of the Devil, are known for their devotion to power and nothing else. Both sides managed to maintain the balance for a very long time. But the traditional sects, or the Morium sects, were striving to advance even further. This was manifested in the emergence of the 18 combat masters, known as the Lords of the Greater Good. With this new threat that began to lurk around the Alliance, the Hall of the Devil decided to create a way to enhance its own power as well. And this led to the emergence of the 10 Demon Lords. The promise the Hall offers is to teach anyone proper martial arts, regardless of their faction. That's what made a lot of young people head to the Hall of the Devil. Our protagonist enters and finds a huge crowd of people around him. He says, I can feel a massive aura coming from quite a few of these people. Most likely, I'll find someone connected to the person who killed my grandfather. The killer is a martial arts master, whose rank I can't even determine. And to get revenge on someone like him, I have to become a master myself. But so far, I don't belong to any faction or specific martial art. So becoming one of the 10 demons is the only way for me to get much stronger. And here we see someone arriving, and this person is followed by a lot of others, who are guards. He says, My name is Hayo Cryon. I'm Ryan, the head instructor. We find out that he's the head instructor, nicknamed the Golden Dagger with dull eyes, Ryan Eung. The people there say, the head instructor, the chief himself. So this is the Golden Dagger. Ryan continues, This is the place where we get to know the greatest applicants from all the demon factions. Only those who pass all the tests we've prepared for them. will be candidates to become one of the 10 demon lords. As for the first test, the martial artists of the demon hall will assess your physical abilities. Whoever passes, passes. They say, how can this even be a test? Impossible. Why don't we just compete for this instead? But the guy who was talking and yelling suddenly finds someone examining him. Of course, the examination position is a bit weird, but it's important, I guess. And he tells him, you passed the test. Move along. So our hero says, we move straight to the second test if you pass the physical ability one. Alright, it's my turn. And as soon as someone approaches him and is about to put his hand on our hero's shoulder, he thinks to himself, this guy is definitely going to get taken down. I'm shocked he even decided to participate. Still, there's something in his eyes, a murderous intent. And there's no doubt that's pure killing intent. Then he just keeps walking without saying anything to our hero. In other words, he failed this time. The man continues to himself, but I won't let him qualify for the next test. And then Yule says to us, just as I remembered, all I've learned so far is how to take care of corpses. It's impossible for me to pass this test. Still, this isn't where it ends. After that, Rion says, the first test is over. Then someone steps up and says, this isn't fair at all, sir. If physical strength is all that determines who will be among the 10 demon lords, then why even hold this competition in the first place? This is just not fair at all. So Rion says, not fair, huh? Your muscles and bones are all that matter. When it comes to learning martial arts, we decided to host this competition to select the most competent people from different regions. Yet here you are running and complaining when you couldn't even pass our most basic standards. So the young man says to him, but you should at least give us a second chance. Rion gets angry and unleashes a tremendous power that puts pressure on everyone. He continues, don't worry, in the second test, I'll choose the one who can learn martial arts, even if his physical ability is weak. The second test will start immediately. From now on, fight each other and survive until only one of you is left alive. They all say, we have to kill each other? But we're all here for the same reason. Is this the test? Are they serious? Then the person who was talking to Ryan says this. In that case, he thinks to himself, this is still in my favor. If I'm going to kill someone, he spots our protagonist from afar. He grabs his spear and says, I'll start with him right away. He quickly throws the spear at our protagonist, who is completely shocked by what's coming at him. He sees the spear pierce the person who is standing right next to our protagonist. And the person who threw it says, well, the moment has finally come today. I can finally kill your red dragon. Then the red dragon says, why, way? And then he falls to the ground. He tells the people around him he really killed him. The blood, I'll be back. Then our protagonist says to himself, he barely avoided the ribs and struck directly at the heart. His body is weak, but his reflexes and speed are as sharp as his blade. And Wei continues, if any of you wants to have his chest pierced like that, step forward. I, Wei, will take care of all of you. Then Rion says, he acts decisively, but lacks wisdom, just as expected. This place is full of foolish idiots. His assistant replies, I agree with you. And he says to himself, in a battle like this, if you present yourself as a threat, you'll inevitably become a target for the others. Ryan continues, however, just showing up like that is enough to stir up the rest. People start wondering what they're going to do. And if things keep going like this, everyone here will end up dead. Then they all start attacking each other. And one of them attacks Y and gets hit. He says, no, not me. I moved forward without thinking and killed him. Then another person comes and stabs the one who hit Y. Rion says to himself, the young ones who didn't know death before are learning about it now. We see all the youths fighting each other. Some of them are literally terrified by what's happening. Rion continues, even the greatest fighters' senses become paralyzed when they face the specter of their own end. But from a distance, he notices something and says it, which surprises his assistant. Then Rion says, looks like some of them aren't completely stupid. Our hero and another person are standing with their backs against the wall, right in the middle of all this chaos. Yul says to himself, those are the real idiots. They've all surrendered to the terror of death. But Ryan's orders were to try to stay alive until only one person is left. Meaning, the most important thing isn't killing, but surviving. If I think rationally and act coldly, I can guarantee my survival. I will live, no matter the cost. He grabs the arm of one of the conscious people lying on the ground, and he starts examining it in a strange way. Meanwhile, the rest are fighting each other, and one of them notices our protagonist. He says, what's up with that kid? At first glance, he looks desperate, like he's been hiding in the shadows the whole time. As for Yul, our protagonist, he's sitting there saying the fine thin sword marks. And the bodies that fell from quick, successive strikes reveal a style of sword that's very slender but deadly. The person who noticed our protagonist says, "I'll kill you myself." And he attacks our protagonist with a very strange weapon, but our protagonist dodges the attack. He asks the person who attacked him, "What's that box? Are you selling junk from the temple or something?" Then we go into a flashback. We see our protagonist really surprised that his grandfather left him a knife and new clothes for his birthday. After that, our protagonist Yuel gets upset. The strange man says to him, "What, you want to try? Come at me with that weak sword of yours. You really think you can pull it off?" But then someone comes up behind him and lands a sharp blow that knocks him to the ground. The person who hit him says, "You don't need to thank me for saving you. Having trash like you around just distracts my opponent and makes things easier for me, which is great." But our hero keeps examining him, and the other young man says to him, "You've got beautiful eyes, but it's obvious you've never learned any fighting skills. I could kill you anytime I want." And someone attacks the man who is talking to our hero, but he also turns around and hits him. Rian says, "That boy is holding the Sword of Annihilation." Huh, why? He carries the legacy of the Black Spirit, who was once known as the greatest wandering swordsman in the world. His assistant, named Yang, replies John, "It's said that in a secluded valley, there's a secret scroll, and the Sword of the Black Spirit. He trained relying solely on the scroll. That's why his techniques lack finesse and his moves are full of openings. But up until now, he's the only disciple of the Black Spirit." We see Young striking someone in front of him, his face getting splattered with blood. The assistant continues, saying that despite his physical weakness, he was a prominent candidate to become one of the 10 Demon Masters, and he might be the winner here. Then Ryan says, but in reality, he's still a beginner and doesn't deserve the Annihilation Sword Fist. Still, he seems to be the strongest among all of them. The assistant replies, Dren, "I agree with you, sir. Unless something unexpected happens." And we still see our hero, Yuel, looking at the corpses and saying, "The cut marks on this body are really rough." Then, in complete silence, we see Neong say, "I understand. I never expected you to be the only survivor until the end." And among all the bodies, literally hundreds of corpses, only our hero and Neong are left. And Neong says, "If I kill you, I'll also become a candidate to be one of the 10 Demon Lords. Come on." And our hero says to himself, "This guy is stronger than me here. But I've already figured out his weakness." The two of them stand facing each other. Yul, our hero, steps closer and says to Mian, "Do I need to test your skills a bit?" And he charges at our hero at an incredible speed. He starts slashing everywhere, but our hero gets a little wounded. And Yang says, "Is dodging stupidly all you can do? How the hell have you managed to stay alive until now?" Then Rian's assistant says to himself, "At first glance, you might think he'll be taken out in a blink of an eye. But if you look a little closer, he twists his body just enough at the end of each attack to avoid getting any fatal wounds." And our hero, Yul, dodges all the strikes. The assistant continues to himself. He memorized Neong's attack patterns by examining the corpses he left behind. That's an impressive level of observation. And here, our hero, Yul, stops and says, "Your sword techniques are pathetic, even after taking all those hits. All you managed to do was cut a bit of my flesh." Neong is surprised and says, "What do you mean by that, you idiot?" And Rion's assistant says to himself, he's mocking him. He's been dodging pretty well so far, but launching counterattacks is gonna be a lot harder than just that. With a weak body like that, landing a proper hit is almost impossible for him. So Nyang says, "I was planning to let you live a little longer, but you insist on acting arrogant. Do you really have that much of a death wish? It would be my pleasure to grant your wish." And Nyang charges at our hero with all his might. Then Yul says to himself, "Here he comes. Opportunities like this only come once." I realized one thing after examining the bodies of everyone he killed. His finishing moves always target the opponent's vital points, especially the heart and the brain. When he senses the intent to kill, his sword will definitely aim for the upper part of his opponent's body in that case. At that moment, Young delivers a powerful slash forward. But our hero, Yul, dodges the attack, drops down, and aims his dagger. He remembers his grandfather's words, saying, "Y'all, it's hard to train the Tainao acupuncture points to be strong, even for a martial arts expert. If a child targeted them with all their strength, even an adult would lose consciousness instantly." So our hero Yell aims his strike at the spot his grandfather pointed out to him. After that, we see Myong start to bleed heavily. Then he collapses to the ground, lifeless, with his blood running down onto our hero's face. After that, Yul says, "Is it over?" Ryan's assistant is shocked and says, This is an unexpected turn. Ryan says, I had expectations since he was called the Black Spirit Sword Art. UYL, you have passed the second test. He remembers his grandfather's words. Yule, where are you, Yule? Our hero runs to his grandfather and says, Grandpa, I'm here. His grandfather says, Bujin, I can't see you. But when our hero gets closer to him, he finds that he has no eyes. He says to him, I can't see you at all. And here, our hero wakes up again. He finds himself bandaged up, surrounded by a lot of people. And he's on a ship. He says to himself, I'm inside a ship. Did I lose consciousness? Well, I've lost some blood. After everything, my injuries weren't that serious, but also kinda serious at the same time. Still, I barely feel any pain right now. Could it be that this is the work of a famous doctor from the Devil's Hall? I'll leave that aside for now. The people here, in general, have well-trained bodies, and some of them even look familiar to me. Are they some of the ones who passed the first test? And they're all looking at our hero with looks of disdain. So Yul says to himself, that's pretty much as expected, I guess. Then a voice comes from above saying, come on down. We've reached the area for the third test, Hell Island. An assistant comes down from there and says, all of you, follow me. Everyone who is on the ship gets off. The trainer tells them, you will all be living here. There are a lot of holes in the middle of the mountain. The trainer continues, put your old clothes and weapons aside, and come out wearing the clothes and swords that have been prepared for you. You are free to choose any cave that suits you. So everyone starts looking for the spot that suits them best. They remember a damp place, but it turns out to be surprisingly comfortable. We see two people arguing over a spot they pick first. A third person tells them, don't fight like that. There are plenty of good spots. Yule says, these guys don't understand what happened in the second test. They've completely let their guard down. Meanwhile, a lot of those who passed the first test are wearing really expensive clothes. Are they all from big families? I see. The second test was a chance to get rid of those who could be eliminated. Then the coach comes up behind our protagonist and says, you still haven't chosen yet. You hesitated from the start. This isn't a good time to slack off. Yule. He says to himself, he caught my attention with his gaze. I didn't expect he'd be able to survive, so let's see what choice he'll make now. He tells him, we don't have time. Choose quickly. So Yul points to a spot and says to him, then I choose that place over there. And he picks a small place with a tiny entrance. The people around him say, out of all the places, he picks that miserable cave. I'm not that annoyed by this kid. So the coach himself says, Yul, you're honestly a genius. This cave, even if its entrance looks a bit narrow and shabby, inside it's spacious enough for you to train well. He also says that the narrow entrance helps block intruders from getting to you. Most of them avoid it just because of how the door looks, but he immediately realized its advantages and told him, alright, get ready. After that, our hero puts on his new clothes, all draped in black, and they're all pretty much wearing the same outfit. The assistant says, I'll explain what you all need to do, what he needs to do right now. Hell Island has 10 martial arts buildings. You can learn one of the 10 martial arts unique to the demon sect. But it's up to you whether you want to learn them all or just focus on one art. It's entirely your choice. You also have the freedom to arrange your time between sleeping, having fun, and playing around. Or you can train and practice martial arts on your own. Do whatever you want. So Yuli himself says, strange, they made the second test a living hell. So how could it make sense for them to just leave us in peace like this to train calmly? He asks the people around him what we should learn first. One of them says, definitely the flaming rain sword techniques. I heard they're the strongest. And then they all start running. So Yule himself says, everyone is heading to the same place, the flaming rain sword sect. I heard they're the strongest among the demonic sects. So learning their techniques would definitely be really useful. As for me, I've never learned any martial arts before. That's why there's no need for me to take any technique, no matter how amazing it seems. What I need right now is something completely different. Our hero arrives at a rundown place, gets closer, and says, is this really the place? The Wandering Beast Pavilion has declined so much that it's barely among the top 10 sects. And the only reason they're still among them is their history of producing the greatest fighters of their time. My grandfather told me about them when he talked to me about the Miriam world, and here I am. But as soon as our hero speaks, the ground starts to shake. Our hero is surprised. Suddenly, someone appears behind him and says, did you come here hoping to become one of the 10 demon lords? That person is the master of the Wandering Beast Pavilion, and his name is Sao. He only sticks his head out of the ground. So our hero says to him, Yeah, I came here to learn the arts of the Wandering Beast Pavilion. Sao looks at him after that. He looks at his body and legs and says, Don't go to your death like this. Just leave. I have no intention of teaching martial arts, especially to someone as weak as you. So he says to him, Yul, I heard that by learning the arts of the Wandering Beast Pavilion, I might be able to get the strength I need to survive any danger. Sa replies to him. He laughs and says, You think you know about these arts, or suspect they might disappear, but even the greatest geniuses find it extremely difficult to learn them. Our arts start by changing the body itself, even the psyche, and with your current body, you'll die within a day. If you understand, then leave. But our hero kneels on the ground, so Sao asks him, What are you doing? Our hero, Yul, replies to him, Since you agreed to teach me, how could I not show respect to my new master? Sao is surprised by him and his ability and says, You idiot, you madman. All right, I'll teach you, but don't mix things up. But I'm only doing this because the Demon Palace ordered me to. Then Sao reveals his body, covered in tattoos like that. He continues, I am Sa, master of the Lost Beast Wing. From now on, call me Master Sa. So he tells him our hero's name is. Sa replies to him, No, you're just trainee number 1. Let's start right now. Then Sa channels all his energy into his finger. And as soon as Sa raises both his fingers and does the move I told you about, our hero, Yul's vision disappears completely. He can't see anything at all. Literally, nothing at all. Just emptiness. And Yul himself says, I can't see anything. So Sa tells him, Don't worry, I temporarily sealed your sight using the secret techniques of the Wandering Beast's wing. This is a necessary step for you to learn the path of the Wandering Beast, and it's one of the fundamental techniques in the Beast's wing. So our hero Yul says to him, The path of the Wandering Beast. Sa continues, It heightens all your senses and gives you reactions similar to beasts. Martial arts are different from others because they adapt according to the trainee's personality. And that's why mastering the path of the Wandering Beast, even though it's a basic technique, becomes extremely difficult over time. Only a few have tried to master it, to the point that it's almost disappeared. But if you succeed in mastering it, you'll gain the senses of the Wandering Beast. Our hero notices Sao's presence and continues, but most people die before they even reach this stage. You'll get used to losing your sight pretty soon, in about an hour. I'll come back after that. After that, Sao disappears, and our hero says, I thought my other senses would become sharper after I lost my sight, but I don't really feel that way. Is an hour really that long? I have to adapt as quickly as possible. And our hero starts crawling and moving around on the ground to figure out what's around him. He says, At this moment, countless fighters are competing to become one of the 10 demon lords. And if anyone attacks me now, I'll be vulnerable. He notices that someone is coming up behind him. So our hero tries to dodge, but he falls to the ground and says to himself, I get it. Since I've lost my sight, balance is the most important thing now. In the middle of the night, after wasting a lot of time, we see Sao waking up and saying, Yeah, I think he's lost right now and doesn't know what he's doing. But Sao is surprised by what he sees and says, That's interesting. Most trainees wait until their other senses awaken when they lose their sight, but he's moving wildly, imagining an imaginary opponent in front of him. Maybe that's why his movements have become good, and he's gotten used to it at an amazing speed. So Sao says, I did my job well, I started to adapt. Now, try to dodge my sword. Sao comes down on our hero, Ul, with a powerful strike. And after about 3 days since that, we see our hero conscious on the ground with Sao in front of him. Sao attacks with a very strong stab at our hero's body. He stabs him in the stomach and thinks to himself, Has it been 3 days? Usually, at this stage, students start to doubt my training methods. But he never objected at all, and Sao says to him, Don't you want to ask me anything? Aren't you curious about how to dodge the strikes or the theoretical basis behind it? So Yul says to him, You said that the essence of the Lost Beastwing martial arts is to lead a person to enlightenment from within. Yeah, you're right. So let's continue. Then Sao keeps attacking our hero again and again, over and over. And our hero himself says, I started to feel it. The path of the sword coming at me. But that's all. I still can't dodge it yet. And he blocks the blow coming from Sao with all his strength. And he says, I'll block it with all my strength instead. Sao is surprised by him and thinks to himself, Did he really block the solid attack after just 3 days of training? Really? Then we see our hero flying far away, and he says to himself, I couldn't block it well. Seo throws him something and says, Here, think this. So our hero thanks him, and as soon as he drinks it, he feels an intense surge of energy and thinks to himself, This isn't water. I feel a tremendous energy flowing through my veins, as if the blood I lost has returned to my body. What is this thing? And Sao says to himself, Yes, son, this is the ultimate spiritual spring water that I've saved up my whole life. But I don't think it'll be wasted on you. I finally met the one-of-a-kind genius I've been waiting for all my life. Then, the next day, they continue their fight. We see Sao landing a ton of blows on our hero, Yo. Yo blocks all the attacks and says to Sao, Take this! He goes for a slashing attack that's about to cut our hero in half. But Yo dodges it and tells Sao, That's not good enough. Then he appears behind our hero Yul and tries to hit him. But in a strange way, Yul blocks the incoming strike. He's surprised to see that Sao stopped his attack. Sao laughs and says, To think that what I was looking for was right in front of me the whole time. Very nice. Our hero gets his sight back and says, I've regained my vision. Then Sao tells Yul, Forget about becoming one of the 10 demon lords. Instead, become my official disciple under my wing. What do you think about that? If you accept, I'll make you one of the top 10 martial masters in the demon faction in just 10 years. Actually, even stronger than all of them. Yul thinks to himself, he'll make me one of the strongest masters in the demon faction. Based on what I've seen so far, I don't think he's lying. But it's clear that my grandfather's killer is extremely skilled. Which means I can't be satisfied with just learning the martial arts of the Wandering Beast Wing. Then our hero Yul says, I'm going to become a demon master. Sao is surprised and says, What's going on? If your goal from the start was to learn the martial arts of the 10 sects, that's impossible even for someone like the Heavenly Demon Emperor, who has enough talent to create his own martial arts. Every martial art requires a certain body type and a specific kind of energy. No matter how talented a person is, they can only learn 2 or 3 types of martial arts at most. Mastering a limited number of martial arts is the shortcut to becoming the strongest in the demon sect. So Yul says to him, I'm sorry, sir. Then Sao speaks himself. He says, That won't change my mind. Then he says, All right, I'll teach you a different martial art now. Yul replies, Excuse me, but I just learned the basics of the Wandering Beast Wing a little while ago. Sao tells him, Martial arts of my wing aren't passed down just through steps or theory alone. Then Sao lands a really powerful blow on our hero Yul, who instinctively blocks it very quickly. Sao continues, You were already practicing the path of the Wandering Beast of my wing. Yul says to himself, I understand. So all those sword attacks he aimed at me were actually real forms of the Wandering Beast path. After that, our hero thanks Sao. Sao tells him, There's no need to thank me. He adds, Like I said, this is just an order from the Demon Hall. Yul replies, But you still gave me a lot. I'll never forget this favor for as long as I live. Sao tells them, No, forget it. Our hero is surprised. Sao continues, That's just how Jianghu is. Gifts, grudges, hatred, revenge. As long as you can forget it, do so. It's better that way. Our hero says, All right, I'll be going now. Then our hero bows and continues on his way. Sao says, Seriously, where did a hidden dragon like that show up in my place? A bloody storm is about to hit Hell Island soon. After that, our hero walks through the forest and says, I wonder if this is because I learned the path of the lost beast, so my senses have become much sharper, even when I'm not doing anything. So, being in a state of total awareness is exhausting. I won't be able to get proper rest like this. I need to learn how to control it. From now on, I'll suppress my senses as much as possible around me, like stopping a single drop of water. And that's exactly what our hero does. He says, That should be more than enough. Then he moves on to the next thing. The Devil's Hall isn't going to keep people on Hell Island just to train them forever. Time might already be running out. If that's the case, I don't have any other choice. So I have to go to the founder of the demonic sect, the one who rivaled the Heavenly Demon Emperor 700 years ago. The Fire Rain Sword Emperor, Gyuk. The strongest among the 10 demonic sects. And he's the one who founded it. That's my only option. And I have the Fire Rain Sword faction. Our hero stands in front of the door and says, Compared to the Wandering Beast Wings Battle Hall, this place is more like a palace. He knocks on the door. Then the assistant whom our hero had seen before comes out, the same one who was present at the first and second tests. And he's also the one who guided them to the third test. He says, A visitor at this hour. And maybe that's you. So our hero says to him, I came to learn the martial arts of the Fire Rain Sword sect. And our hero thinks to himself, This man is a martial arts master in this faction. The instructor says, Come with me, follow me. The sword arts here are the most extensive among all the demonic martial arts. Not to mention, they're also the most time-consuming. The people who went inside earlier have already completed the initial trial and moved on to the intermediate one. Is there a reason you came here after half a month? He replies, I was learning the martial arts of the Wandering Beast Wing during the past half month. The instructor says, the Wandering Beast Wing. You're telling me, huh? Don't tell me you went down the path of the Wandering Beast. Yul replies, yeah, I actually did that. The instructor is surprised and thinks to himself, I know this kid is a genius. But it's impossible for him to have completed the Wandering Beast path in just half a month. Most likely, what happened is that Saw got annoyed and kicked him out quickly. Alright, there's just no way to deal with this guy's mood. Then the man says to him, my name is Jack, I'm in charge of the beginner's trial. Call me Coach. Jack, are you really planning to learn the Flaming Rain sword technique? It might be better for you to try a different trial. Yul replies, I appreciate your concern, but I still prefer to learn the sword techniques of the Flaming Rain sword sect despite all that. So Jack says to him, alright, that's very good in that case. Then Jack stomps his foot on the ground, and a sign drops down. Jack says to him, look, this is the introductory form and the practical method for the 13 Flaming Rain forms. Study this and train yourself. Our hero is surprised and says, what am I supposed to do with this writing? Coach Jack. Jack is surprised and asks him, what do you mean? You can't possibly mean you can't read the sword manual, right? Yul replies, no, I can't. Jack says to him, even now? Yul replies, no, I can't. Jack is shocked, and our hero continues. Up until now, he hadn't learned a single fencing technique before coming here. Jack is absolutely stunned by this revelation. This is something he never expected at all. Jack asks him, have you really never learned swordsmanship in your life? Yul replies, exactly, and Jack says to himself, okay, he recorded that he only used the fire rain technique. Even in the second trial, he wasn't using any other sword techniques. But still, does he really not know even the most basic fundamentals, like the basic steps of swordsmanship? But on the other hand, looking at his observation skills and reactions in the second trial, or in the second test, and the insight he showed when he chose the Residence Cave, if he's at this level while still being a blank slate, then if he learns the right way, things will be completely different. And Jack says, even if you don't know the sword steps, you're good at reading. Right? Read this. So Yul says, relax your whole body, and flow gently, step by step. Then Jack says to him, first, relaxing your whole body means you use your body flexibly during sword fighting, and you especially need to relax your center and your waist. So our hero tries to do that. Jack is surprised that our hero doesn't know at all. He thinks to himself that he has to teach such basics in a place set by the 10 demon lords. Then he gives our hero instructions on how to stand again, and when his body and center get tense, he needs to control his mind and relax it, and flow gently, step by step. So our hero does just that. Jack is surprised at how quickly our hero adjusts in an instant. He thinks to himself, did he really understand that just from my words? Jack tells him, very good.
You're good to go.
I'll teach you the 13 forms of fire rain right now. Jack tries to teach our hero everything. So our hero performs the fire moves incredibly fast. Jack thinks to himself, just as I expected, this boy is extremely talented. He tells our hero, now imagine there's an opponent in front of you, and use the 13 forms of fire rain. Our hero is surprised and asks him, an opponent? What opponent? So Jack tells him, yes, this is the test to move up to the intermediate hall. The test reveals the sword's intent hidden in your basic moves. Yul thinks to himself, the opportunity came faster than I expected. I have to prove myself here. Imagine an opponent. An opponent. I must defeat him. Yes, that person. And our hero Yul draws his sword. He uses the 13 Flaming Rain technique. The first technique, the unique hurricane. Jack is surprised by something. Our hero continues with the second, third, and even the fourth technique. Jack thinks to himself, is this what the forms of the 13 rain techniques look like? The cloud floating and flowing mist technique is usually gentle and spiritual. It's supposed to be performed like clouds drifting and stretching across the sky. But the way he's doing this technique is sharp and oddly shaped. Is he modifying it on purpose? Changing the fundamental moves of a sword style passed down through generations is something only a true master can do. Yet these modified moves are filled with killing intent, as if he's facing an enemy who killed his master or his parents. He's reshaping the style of the Fire Rain sect. It's the purest and most authentic of sword styles. What kind of life has this boy lived to shape the sword like this? And here, our hero himself speaks. So strange. The flow at my fingertips changes the sword's path however I want. Is this the effect of the stray beast path? The more I use the 13 forms of fire rain, the sharper my senses become with the stray beast path, or by completely merging the two together. But if I do that, it won't be the fire rain style anymore. The style is completely different. I need to hurry and return to the original sword basics. And our hero comes back. But suddenly, he becomes even more ferocious and releases an intense killing intent when he sees his grandfather's killer in front of him. He says, "That bastard is the one who killed my grandfather." Our hero, Yul, gets furious. He unleashes the fire rain technique, the 7th technique, Heart of the 4 Seas. He shreds the person in front of him. But the person Yul imagined in front of him dodges his attack quickly. So our hero realizes this and dodges the attack himself. Then Yul says, "He's faster than any opponent I've faced so far." That person draws his sword and thrusts it at our hero. Yul is surprised and says, "I don't have time to dodge. I have to stop him. I need to use all the techniques I have left at once. Give it everything you've got." Our hero unleashes some extremely powerful sword strikes at the person, or opponent, in front of him. But our hero strikes with his hand and realizes that both his arms are injured. Then he falls to the ground again, dropping his sword from his hand. Then Jack himself says, "In the end, he lost. But even so," Jack lets out a sly laugh and says, "You passed." Our hero is surprised and asks, "What do you mean? How so?" Jack tells him, "What's being tested in the preliminary hall is your understanding of the sword and your ability to apply the 13 forms of the flame and rain techniques in a real fight. And you've already proven that. Take your sword. Your style in the flaming rain forms was brilliant. Proceed to the intermediate hall." Yul is surprised and says to himself, "Coach Jack. Even though he refused to teach me at first, since I knew nothing about the sword, he still taught and guided me step by step." And our hero thanks him. Jack tells him, "Keep working even harder from now on. Oh, and one more thing. Your sword carries a very strong intent to kill. Be careful not to let yourself be consumed by that killing intent again." After that, our hero leaves him and walks away. Then Jack says to himself, "Now I understand. He was honest about mastering the path of the wandering beast in just half a month. Maybe that's because of his remarkable speed to learn. But he's advancing to the intermediate hall faster than anyone expected. At first, I wasn't even sure he'd make it there. But now I understand, master, in the intermediate hall." And as soon as our hero opens the door to the intermediate hall, the person inside tells him, "I don't know who you are, but all the seats here are already taken. Get out of here." And we find out that this is the instructor for the intermediate hall test of the Fire Rain Sword Sect, and his name is Wang. Jack continues, "Instructor Wang will definitely end up obsessed with you all." At the intermediate hall, we see our hero enter, and the instructor there, Wang, tells him, "If you've only passed the elementary hall so far, and it took you more than 20 days to learn the 13 fire rain sword forms, then with this little bit of talent, you're just gonna waste your time here for nothing." So our hero tells him, "I was late because I spent 2 weeks in the Lost Beast Swing." Wang replies to it, "Oh, really? So the delay wasn't because you were slow to learn the basic teachings." And instructor Wang says to himself, "The Lost Beast Wing? He must have skipped mastering the Lost Beast path halfway through anyway." Then he says, "No problem. Since you've passed the teachings of the beginner's hall, you have a place among us. Even though I don't know if you can keep up with all of us. The fierce Firestorm sword relies on extreme speed. So if you're not skilled with the sword, you'll end up hurting yourself. These are martial arts that are hard to use in real combat, just like the 13 forms of the Firestorm. Still, it's a basic art we have to learn on our path. Your focus shouldn't be on winning, but on honing your sword skills. Come here, Byuk, and choose an opponent to spar with." So Byuk says to him, "Can I choose anyone?" So Master Wang says, "Of course." Then Byuk chooses our hero, Yul. So Wang says to him, but Byuk replies, "You said I could choose anyone." Wang mutters to himself, "This idiot, this fool." Then he asks him, "What do you mean by that? How can you test your sword on someone who just finished the beginner's hall? Pick someone else." But our hero, Yul, surprises Master Wang and says he's fine with it. Master Wang is shocked and tells our hero, "You learned how to use this sword from Coach Jack in the beginner's test. So if I test my sword on other people, I think I'll learn faster." Then Coach Wang himself speaks up. So he's trying to protect his pride with some basic skills he just learned. Wang says, "Knowing your own limits is a skill every warrior must have. Hopefully, you'll be skilled enough to make it to the advanced hall." Then Byuk himself says, "What kind of luck is this? But it's hard for me to duel like these geniuses. But if I kill this one, I'll prove my worth." After that, the two greet each other. He tells Byuk, "You're brave, yeah. But you'll need more than that to survive in the world of Mirim." Then Wang gives the order to begin. Byuk, that young man, charges at our hero Yul with incredible speed and lands a powerful strike. But our hero dodges, so Bayek tells him, not bad at all. Then he comes down with another deep blow at our hero. But Yul, in a strange way, blocks it, and his sword starts to tremble in his hand. He's surprised by that powerful blow. Bayek thinks to himself, this feeling when our swords clash. Is he really a beginner who doesn't know anything? Then he says to our hero, idiot, I'll show you the thunderous firestorm sword. He activates the thunderous firestorm sword against our hero and unleashes a flurry of powerful, cutting strikes. But our hero, Yul, dodges every strike as if he's memorized this technique by heart. Bayek thinks to himself, this kid is dodging all my attacks. Then our hero counters with several strikes of his own. Wang thinks to himself, Bayek isn't skilled with the sword. Yeah. But this kid isn't just dodging with speed. It's like he's predicting every move. It's impossible that he learned the wild beast's path or the stray beast's path. Even though the stray beast's path is the basic martial art of the wandering beast sect, it's extremely hard to learn and perform. And only the oldest martial masters can truly master it. And even if you're a genius blessed with talent, there's no way you could master it in just 2 weeks. Then Wang says that just dodging makes it hard for the judge to decide. This duel isn't to test your reflexes, but to test your sword skills. So our hero stops, realizes what's going on, and then attacks with one of the 13 flaming sword showers at Bayek in front of him. And they all say, the 13 forms of the firestorm. Bayek dodges the first strike coming at him. He says, the 13 forms of the firestorm. Then one of the regular people says, this game is a bit different. Bayek continues, I could dodge it with both my eyes closed. But here, he takes a hit on his hand. And the hit is literally so strong that he's shocked and thinks to himself, is this really the true 13 forms of the firestorm? Damn, was he hiding his skills and using several forms on purpose just to mock me? Or is he doing this to get the attention of Coach Wang and head straight to the advanced hall? At this rate, I'll be humiliated here in front of everyone and exposed. Then he says, I'm the one who's going to advance to the advanced hall today. He activates the Asura sword style, blood squeeze strike. He attacks our hero with extremely fierce blows from every direction. Meanwhile, Coach Wang sees what's happening and says, that's a deadly strike from the Asura sword sect. I never said they should use the sword and the fire rain alone. But that boy's legs haven't lost their balance in a situation like this. He's taking all the blows from the deadly Asura sword. Maybe this boy really managed to learn the path of the wandering beast. Then we see Bayek speaking. Ha, you're really good at dodging my attacks, like a mouse running away. But here, you're going to die. Wang is surprised by something and says, isn't that? Then Bayek leaps at our hero with the puppet wind moon and lands a very powerful blow on him. But to everyone's surprise, we see our hero use one of the 13 forms of fire. The third form, endless and without any limit. He manages to hit Bayek in the stomach and knock him to the ground. Everyone there is literally shocked and wonders if Bayek is dead or something. And our hero puts his sword back, so Wang himself says, that kid is dead. He struck him in a vital spot with deadly precision. Then our hero asks, were you always a student in the Wandering Beast Wing? Our hero replies, no, so Wang says to him, so you're claiming you mastered the entire Wandering Beast path in just 2 weeks? So our hero says to him, I only learned the basics. Wang replies, the basics. Does Dad teach lying in the Wandering Beast Wing now too? He says to our hero, aye. And Wang interrupts. I'm not going to listen to any excuses. Clean this up immediately. People are saying, committing murder during a regular training session. What kind of madness is this? Doesn't this call for punishment? Wang says, don't be mistaken. Just because this place is called a hall doesn't mean there's any kindness here. This is Hell Island. If you used a technique meant for killing, then you should be ready to die from it yourself too. We'll resume the exam now. We see everyone training. Some move up to the advanced hall, while others stay behind and fail. Wang tells them, leave immediately and look for another combat hall. Then one of them says, what's this? That was just one exam. Can't we get another chance? Wang replies, never. Maybe you passed the earlier stages because you're physically fit. But to truly master the Flaming Rain Sword, you need innate talent and a level of sweat and effort that goes beyond your limits. You failed because you lack those qualities. Now get out of my sight. So they all leave, and our hero Yul stays behind. Coach Wang asks him, why didn't you leave? Our hero replies, should I leave too? He answers, yes, you won the duel and passed the exam. Proceed to the advanced test. Our hero says, if it were up to me to advance further, I'd rather stay here. So Wang asks him why he would choose something like that. Our hero continues, everything I learned about sword techniques and the 13 forms of rain style. I haven't learned anything in the intermediate hall yet. So Wang says to him, you learned the path of the lost beast, and you mastered the Asura sword technique. Yet you say you haven't learned anything. Our hero replies, exactly. Wang is surprised and says, ha ha ha. Alright, I'll teach you the fiery thunder rain sword, which completes the 13 rain style techniques. But I hate people who try to draw attention with a little bit of talent. If I see you using any techniques other than the 13 rain styles, I'll cut your head off on the spot. He thinks to himself, now I understand how he mastered the path of the lost beast in just 2 weeks. Then we see our hero using the fiery thunder rain sword, supreme lightning, with newfound power. So Wang stops him from afar and says, you can stop now. Looks like you've grasped the concept of the fiery thunder rain sword. So he says to him, that's all, yo. For days later, we see Wang looking really surprised. He says, I've searched for information about this young man in every way over the past few days, but I couldn't find any real basics of swordsmanship for him. He really was a beginner. Still, his determination and focus were amazing, as if he'd lose his life if he didn't learn martial arts. He tells our hero, the fiery thunder rain sword is a technique that twists the body quickly. That's why it allows you to chain your movements together. The moves spin the sword around the body, and it's not really a standard move in real combat. Still, you're trying to perform every technique on the battlefield as if you're trying to kill someone. So our hero says to him, isn't that the true spirit of sword techniques? Wang continues, of course, the demonic Morium arts require a killer intent, but reaching a higher level of mastery makes the fiery rain sword transcend the need for a killing edge. If you keep harboring a killer intent in your heart, you'll end up creating an art that destroys you instead of benefiting you. Our hero then remembers what Master Jack said to him. It was the same thing. Then the story flashes back to Master Wang in the past. Even now, I've lived carrying the intent to kill in my heart. I killed everyone who stood in my way. But in doing so, I lost my honor and self-respect, and my fighting skills deteriorated. A person might think that killing techniques elevate their status, but in reality, they're an obstacle on the endless path of the sword. Let go of that killer intent. He also remembers his grandfather's words, telling him that swordsmen often have a past stained with despair and misfortune. That's why the Morium sons hate talking about their past. So our hero asks in the present, why are you telling me something like this, sir? Wang tells him, I told you because I too once harbored a killer intent deep in my heart. What's your name? So he tells our hero his name. Wang says to him, you're Yoldak, the one who managed to survive the second trial. Jack mentioned something about you. You've got a big problem. So our hero asks him, what is it? Wang replies, you're missing the fundamentals of martial arts. Your competitors have been learning since they were kids. If you really want to start learning the flaming rain sword in the advanced hall, the gap between you and them will only get wider. You need to master the basic rules quickly so you have a solid foundation to build your flaming rain techniques on. From now on, I'll teach you the unique lightning and thunder sword techniques that I created. But I destroyed the nerve endings in my fingertips when I failed while trying to master this technique. That's how dangerous it is. If you make a mistake, you'll completely lose control of your arm. You won't qualify for the advanced hall. You could end up with a permanent disability. Are you ready for that? So our hero says he sacrificed his own arm for revenge. I'm even willing to give up my life for this. He thanks Master Wang and tells him that he'll keep doing what he's told. Then, somewhere else at the advanced hall, we see Yil saying, the advanced room really brings out a different vibe. I feel a different kind of fierceness directed at me from these trainees. I got rid of the looks of contempt that were directed at me. That must be because I killed Bayak back then. Taking care of the body is a job that's looked down on with a lot of disdain. But on the contrary, killing people with a sword brings praise and compliments. And the advanced hall instructor says, so you're Yo. I've heard a lot about you. I was just about to start the lesson. Please, have a seat. Since we have a new trainee joining us, I'll explain the core reading of the Flaming Rain Sword, along with the 7 teachings. You need to have strength balanced in every part of your body. Focus on maintaining a balanced stance. Pull your chest in and push your back out. Don't put all your energy into a single strike. Then Yo himself says, now I understand. I wouldn't have been able to get this if I hadn't learned advanced martial arts in the intermediate room with Master Wang. Then the instructor continues. Let's wrap up the verbal instructions here for today. Yul, you come with me. So our hero Yul follows the advanced instructor. And the instructor continues, in a world where someone without a sword can defeat someone who has one. But to be more precise, a person no longer even needs a sword to perform sword techniques. The sword, do you know what that means? He breaks off a tree branch next to him and points it at our hero just like a sword. Then he continues, let me ask you this. Let's say you were suddenly attacked, just like right now. but you don't have a sword. How would you use martial arts? Our hero is surprised and then continues. While I was in the intermediate level room, the trainees here learned the Shining Mystery, and that's the first form of the Flaming Rain Sword. And now they're discussing it theoretically. If you can't understand what I'm asking you, then I won't teach you. That's why he answers, and with a serious warning, our hero says, if I don't have a sword, I'll use my opponent's sword. He runs toward the tree branch and tries to grab it, but the master disappears from in front of him and reappears behind him. The master says that was a hasty choice to the extreme. Our hero is surprised by the master's speed and chases after him again, saying, maybe I can predict how he'll dodge this. I didn't even expect that I'd be able to get his sword at all, but thinking about my inability to follow his movements at all. If I can't impress him here, I'll have to say goodbye to the advanced room. He uses the Lost Beast path at its maximum potential and observes the flow of directions, then uses it and says, even if it's just for once. And he actually manages to reach the sword, but our hero gets thrown far away, and that's because of the master's strength. Our hero crashes to the ground, so the master tells him, you passed. Our hero is surprised and thinks to himself, I passed? I couldn't even touch him. So how? The master continues, you'll start learning the luminous mystery starting tomorrow. Come tomorrow a bit earlier than the others. So he says, got it, sir. After that, our hero leaves. Then we see the tree branch breaking in the master's hands. He says, even if it's a young wolf, it's still a wolf. I'm placing high hopes on him. After that, we see our hero saying, I'm done with today's lesson. Now I can go rest or take my jeep for a spin. Maybe I should take a walk for a bit. Who knows when another fight might break out too? Then he notices someone behind him and says, that's a lot of people for just one person. 2, 3, 4, 5. A few people show up and say, YL, you were acting out a line in the intermediate room. We're gonna teach you a good lesson. And the others say, yeah, since you were the one who started by killing someone, you can't blame us at all. Right. We're the 5 geniuses among geniuses, known as the 5 Peak Swords. You'd better be ready. Then our hero says himself, no, there's one more. And they say to him, you annoying brat. Are you really trying to act brave? But then a stranger shows up, hits one of them, and knocks him to the ground. And we find out that this person is safe. Seojin says, we need to talk. So they ask him, Sojin, what brought you here? Seojin tells them, get out of my face. I have nothing to do with you, you bunch of losers. So they all run away and tell him they'll settle things with him later. And Yal says himself, this guy's really strong. And we see Seojin saying, just a bunch of cowards. He turns to our hero and says, let me ask you directly. Yule, whose side are you on? Our hero is surprised by Sojin's words. Then we go to the teacher, who says, you all have learned the first technique of the Blazing Rain Sword, but you can't say you've mastered it until you make it a part of yourselves. I think it's time for me to take a look at the blazing raindrops you've created. Yule, give it a try. So our hero stands up and takes a deep breath. He starts practicing the technique with all his strength and intensity, right in front of everyone. The master is surprised and says to himself, this is a solid and precise technique, and he infused it with a strong intent to kill. He tells him to go back to his place and that the next one should try. And that next one is Sojin. Our hero walks past Seojin, and Seojin says to himself, he just showed off a technique that could have countered mine, instead of using the first style of the Blazing Rain Sword. It's like he's warning me. After that, we return to the present. We see our hero asking, what do you mean by that? Which class am I in? And Sojin replies to him, stop pretending to be so clueless. I know that not everyone here wants to become one of the 10 demon lords. And Yule thinks to himself, now that I thought about it, the ability to learn the martial arts of the sects. But in practice, the actual participation was terribly executed. So this amazing opportunity is at the same time a trap to catch something. So our hero asks, is there a spy? Sojin is surprised and thinks to himself, that face and his tone, he's not lying. Sojin says, I'm not talking about you. I just wanted a bit of fun. Enough reckless behavior from now on. Fine. If you keep getting on my nerves, I'll kill you too. And Sojin walks away. So our hero says to himself, a spy? Looks like what's going on beneath the surface is way bigger than I thought. Well, it makes sense, since I was only focused on learning the arts of the Wandering Beastwing and the Flaming Rain Sword sect's martial techniques. I don't think I need to pay any attention to this matter, whether he's a spy or a demonic martial artist, because that doesn't change the fact that he's an opponent I have to fight, and that's going to start very soon. Then, in the dead of night, we see someone saying, today marks the end of the training, and that's the instructor of the advanced hall. He continues, I'm sure many of you felt that learning the rules was boring. But even martial arts masters who fought endless real battles still set aside time to study the rules and principles of martial arts. Knowing martial arts doesn't mean you're able to apply them. And being able to apply them doesn't necessarily mean you truly know the martial arts in question. I believe that analyzing the rules I've taught you will serve as a cornerstone in your journey through the world of Morium. Now then, good luck to you all. Right after that, a very loud bell rings out across the entire Hell's Island. All the students are surprised and ask, "What's going on?" So the teacher tells them, "Now's the time. Go to the stone mountain in the center of the island." They head over there and meet Ryan along with Jack, the trainer Jack. Trainer Jack says, "Everyone's here." All of Ryan's gazes are fixed on our protagonist. And he says, "Now we're gonna start the third test." Everyone present says, "A third test? Not a second one?" And our protagonist says to himself, "That fight to the death I witnessed was just a beginning." I don't know if the others saw that too. Trainer Jack continues, "All the exits will be closed soon. You won't be able to return to your lodgings until the 10 masters are chosen. So get your things ready in advance." So they ask, "How will the 10 masters be chosen among us?" Rion says, "There was no place for the weak among us. And it won't be just fighting each other. Wipe each other out until only 10 of you are left." Got it? Everyone there is shaken to their core by this shocking announcement. Ryan continues, "You can run and hide. That's up to you, but that won't help you for long. As time goes on, we'll restrict the area you can stay in, and it'll get smaller and smaller. Anyone left in the forbidden zones will be killed by those deadly demons." At this point, our hero senses a very strong killing intent from them, and Seojin himself says they must be martial artists on a completely different level. Then someone asks, "Aren't we allowed to attack those demons?" Ryan laughs loudly and says, "Yes, yes, I'm really happy to meet candidates with high hopes like you from time to time. Of course, you can kill them, and if you're able, you can kill them too. But anyone who manages to kill a demon slayer will immediately become one of the 10 demon lords." So they say, "Killing one of them would be much harder than killing everyone else here." Rin continues, "Remember well that you can form a group and attack each other one by one. And if you can kill them, do it at any cost. This is the path through which you can become one of the 10 demon lords." Then another bell rings, signaling the start of this fiery, intense battle. Our hero starts running at full speed. He says, "I have to move. I've attracted the attention of a lot of trainees so far. If I don't leave this place immediately, there's a chance I'll be attacked by a group of people, just like before. I need to get to a safe place. The first safe place for me will be over there." Then he heads to the Fortress of the Lost Beast. He says the ground looks a bit different than before. Then he senses something. He says, "Someone's coming toward me." At that moment, someone comes running and calls out, "Please help me, help! Someone is trying to kill me." So our hero draws his sword. He gets himself ready for anything. The person comes out from the grass and says, "If you help me, I'll pay you back for this." Our hero is surprised. He wonders to himself, is this a trick or not? But then he notices real wounds on the young man's body, the one asking for help, in different places. He says to himself, there are 3 people chasing him. Are they a team? I don't want to get involved in this matter, but this man revealing my location would never be good. After that, our hero prepares something like a grave. Then those 3 people come looking for the person our hero is helping, and they ask him, where did he go? They say, it's impossible for him to escape from us. Then another one says, bring that bastard here, no matter what it takes. A third one replies, I don't think he got very far. Let's go. And the 3 of them take off at full speed. After that, our hero comes out of the hiding spot that had suddenly appeared in front of him. The other person says to him, I was able to survive thanks to you. If it weren't for your help, I would have... And our hero himself says, this pit isn't just a hiding spot. Mr. Sao must have prepared it for me when I was in the dirt. I felt the senses of the stray beast's path expanding more than usual. The sound of them pushing the dirt. The sound of their swords being used through the vibrations. I could sense everything, as if it were right in front of me. The path of the wild or stray beast that relies on vibrations. He must have wanted to teach me something like that. Anyway, then our hero notices something in the boy's hand. So the boy says to him, my name is Gyumyoung from the Blood Sect. Can I know your name? But our hero doesn't answer him, so Goom says, hey, wait a second. I ran into the forest as soon as the third test started. I was about to die from fear. They kept chasing me without ever stopping. If you don't mind, can I join you? You helped me hide before. That's why I feel like I can trust you. But our hero doesn't answer him, so Guillaume follows up and says, I'll take that as a yes from you. And our hero continues on his way with the guy named Guillaume. Then we see our hero saying, we need to find another way. There's a fight happening here. So Guillaume says, oh my god, can you feel the vibrations? That's amazing. Teach me how to do that. But our hero doesn't answer him. Then he hears a voice saying, we'll see, even if I have to sell my soul. I'll ask my fellow disciples. Our hero is surprised and remembers his own, saying, this is a familiar hatred I can feel. So Guillaume asks him, hey, is something wrong? So our hero tells him, change of plans. Join in the fight. Guillaume is surprised and asks him, why? Then we see our hero watching the ongoing fight. Suddenly, someone attacks our hero at incredible speed. The Guillaume, our hero, blocks the strike and asks the stranger, how did you stop the ultimate forbidden stealth technique? Are you an assassin too? But our hero literally cuts him in half, dropping him to the ground as a lifeless corpse. He says, the assassin's stealth technique would have been really troublesome if I hadn't learned the path of the wandering beast. At this point, Guillaume says, Adam, and our hero notices that there are still people fighting. He heard their voices from afar and says if he helps him get rid of the assassins, will he tell me what revenge tastes like? We see someone lying on the ground with people around him saying, it's over. Let's finish this and leave. And one of the assassins says, I'll kill you quickly, out of respect for you being the last one left. At this point, they're surprised to find another person in the place. And that person turns out to be our protagonist. He attacks both of them at the speed of light. One of them asks, what's going on here? Were there still some of them left? Then another person appears behind our protagonist, and they say to him, we're going to kill you too. But our protagonist manages to take out the first guy. Then he turns around and two more people attack him. But our hero, Yahello, manages to stab one of them in the shoulder and knocks him to the ground. He then charges at the second person with incredible speed. At this point, that guy attacks him. But before he can finish, he's stabbed hard from behind. The one who stabbed him is the guy whose arm was cut off, trying to get his revenge. Then, that guy laughs maniacally and says, yes, I got my revenge. After that, he collapses to the ground. He too is now just a lifeless corpse. Guillaume comes out from the tall grass and says, is it over now? Our hero approaches the corpse and tries to do something, so Guillaume says to him, hey, Yule, you're really skilled. But still, you shouldn't have let your guard down. Then Guillaume pulls out a gabber. He's about to stab our hero in the back with it. But then, a flurry of blows happens. The sound of sparks fills the air. It turns out that our hero, Yule, managed to block Guillaume's incoming attack. That sneaky surprise attack. Guillaume is shocked and says, how? Our hero replies, because of you. I couldn't even ask my question. Guillaume says, hey, what are you even talking about? More importantly, you found me out. Our hero, Yule, says, right from the very beginning. He gets really surprised and asks, how? Our hero says, when we hid underground, I realized you were hiding a lot of small weapons in your clothes. It was easy to notice from how stiff your movements were in the empty corridor and other places. And the reason I kept you by my side until now, despite everything, and my curiosity to see what you would do. I thought of it as watching someone trying to trick someone else. Might come in handy for me later. And Guillaume says, no way. That was perfect acting. And he throws a lot of knives at our hero, Yule. But Yule dodges them. And Guillaume says to himself, even so, I felt that blow while I was following him. Can he predict my next move? And right away, our hero lands some decisive blows. He hits Jum's shoulder so hard that it causes him intense pain. He says, even if you have the best hidden weapons, they're useless if their secret is discovered. Guillaume is shocked and launches a final attack on our hero, but our hero finishes him off with a single blow and knocks him to the ground as well. He's dead too. He says to himself, that was a tough fight. If I hadn't realized early on that he was hiding a weapon, I would have had a real problem right now. A soul dying, just like all the ones I've seen before. His face is full of a desperate clinging to life. But this is different. I wonder what it feels like when someone finally gets their revenge and it's over. When I reach my own revenge, will I be able to smile with that much relief? And it's the same person who was just seeking revenge a moment ago. He's laughing even though he's dead. So our hero takes his sword and continues walking. Then, from a distance, we see someone saying, is this the boy? He takes down the young master of the Gyosef family using the impractical basic sword technique of the Flaming Rain Sword sect. A truly exceptional talent. But there are many geniuses like him here, and if he doesn't reach a higher level, he'll have a hard time staying alive on this hellish island. The next day, we see someone running quickly, and we also see a group chasing after him. One of them says, "Catch him! He's alone! Don't let him get away from us!" And they're swinging swords like whips. And they're striking at our hero, Yule. But Yule dodges the attacks. But then he gets hit on the back and thinks to himself, damn, they're strong. If I keep fighting them head on, I'll die for nothing. I need to come up with a plan. Then, from a distance, we see Rion asking, what's going on? So Jack tells him, out of 86 trainees, there are still 41 alive. Ryan says, 41 still alive after 3 days. We see our hero standing, blocking all the attacks coming at him, and Rion continues, but that only means that only the strong ones manage to survive. I wonder if we can see their true colors. Give me the map. So Jack hands him the map. And when Ryan grabs it, we see our hero over there, his sword being pulled away. But our hero lets go of the sword and quickly escapes from among the many swords. He says to himself, they're weapons. They fight in open spaces. It puts me at a disadvantage. In this situation, first I need to go somewhere else. We see Rion saying, first I'll establish my control over this area. Release the demons in the sword sect's territory. And we see our hero arriving at the sword sect, or at least at the sword sect's territory. He enters the building, and the rest who are chasing him follow, holding whips in their hands. They see his blood as he reaches the sword sect. So they enter a narrow place and say, is he hiding here like a rat cornered in a trap? No matter how much you run, you won't escape from us. And before the man could finish his sentence, a powerful blow comes at him from behind. One of them says, you idiot! Do you really think a trick that simple would work on me? And they all point their whips at him. But our hero manages to strike them. One of them says at that moment, is he reading the Path of the White Devil's sound technique? And our hero faces a decisive blow right in the middle of the first man's bind. Then he rushes at the second one at incredible speed. But as the second man tries to strike with his swords, he's surprised when the sound hits something on the wall. And because the place is narrow, the sound doesn't have enough space to travel fully. He says to himself, damn it, this place is way too cramped. And as soon as our hero reaches him, he sends his arm flying and makes him fall to the ground in pain. The third person thinks to himself, this time he lured us here on purpose. And our hero says Yul himself is in a tight spot like this. He's forcing them to limit the range of their white demon sound technique, which weakens its power and makes its trajectory easier to predict. On top of that, their individual skills aren't that impressive at all. If I face them one after another, I might win. And here we see the remaining 3 attacking with their sound technique. Our hero notices that a rebound is coming his way. And just before they strike, he dodges at the very last second. He crashes into the wall and says, damn! I didn't expect the sound to hit the wall and bounce back at me. They all say, this is our chance. Let's get out of here right now. But then someone appears in front of them and says, where do you think you're going? Are you trying to escape? A strange person shows up. And it turns out that this is the leader of the group that was sent after our hero, ULL. So one of them says to him, Captain, that's not what this is about. The whole thing is that this place isn't suitable for fighting. But we see that this leader cuts them off with his voice and says, damn, I should have known that a bunch of scum like these are incapable of even reaching the higher ranks. Taking them with me was a huge mistake. Then our hero appears and says, are you their leader? The man replies, yeah, your skills aren't bad. The sword technique you used a moment ago, was that the blazing rain sword style? Our hero answers, that's right. The man says, my name's On. What's your name? Our hero replies, so you were the one. On laughs. He says, there's no need for me to know the name of someone who's about to die. Then he attacks our hero with a shout and manages to grab his sword at an incredible speed. And he continues, from what I've heard, it seems that only the high-ranking members of the Blazing Rainsword sect know this technique. No one taught you, except for that one defensive style. Our hero says to himself, this is known as strength. How could he possibly know that? Does this man have information that even the intelligence network is unaware of? Some strange information network. So he says to him, hey, what are you thinking about so deeply in the middle of a fight? And he attacks our hero again. He tries to hit him, but the sonic strike hits the ground instead. And our hero continues to himself, whether it's a wall or a ceiling, he just crushes them. That's it. Fighting someone like this in a closed space doesn't give me any advantage. Our hero notices that there's an attack coming at him from afar, and he blocks it with his sword. He keeps moving further and further away. An says, what's with all this disappointment over such a pathetic sword skill? You'll never be able to withstand the white demonic sound style. And he unleashes his sound attack on our hero, which literally surrounds him from every direction. On laughs. Soon, the white demonic sound will cut off your breath. Then our hero says to himself, while the Beyond the Air Radiance style, this defensive style can block attacks. It still lacks the power needed to destroy the white demonic sound. What I need right now is a destructive force strong enough to crush steel itself. He remembers something Master Wang once told her, and immediately he activates his car. Then we see On say something. Was that your last struggle? Even if it was, with just a technique like that, it's impossible for you to. But suddenly, a huge surge of electricity bursts from the place, and On's sound is shattered. Our hero unleashes the great thunder arts. He reaches On at incredible speed, and he strikes him on the shoulder. Then On says, "What the hell is this, for God's sake?" And then On is split in half. He falls to the ground, dead. Our hero notices that the power of the thunder arts is exactly as Master Wang described. It's a deadly sword art with immense power. But at the same time, it's a highly advanced sword technique. With his current level, he can't use it so freely. After that, our hero starts bleeding heavily from his mouth. He says to himself, "Anyway, that's lucky. But I lost a lot. From now on, the Forbidden Zone here will change soon. That's why I have to move quickly." At that moment, our hero senses a strong, bloodthirsty killing intent. And he says, "Impossible. Why is he here?" One of the killers appears, or the killer ghost, that Rion said he would send into the Forbidden Zones. He asks himself, why is the spirit-inflamed killer ghost here? Did this area become forbidden while we were fighting? But I didn't run away from the fight if I quietly left the Forbidden Zone. And our hero tries to move. He looks at the killer ghost. He realizes it's not moving. So he says, "Good, there's no reaction. That means I need to hurry up and leave." And just as our hero tries to walk away, he sees a venomous snake coming at him, and he notices it, and he finds his head blown off from its place. But he dodges the incoming attack at the very last second. He says, "I didn't feel the aura of the sword strike launching. If it weren't for the stray monster's sword, I'd be dead." After that, our hero tries to stand in front of the killer ghost. He says, "I shouldn't be fooled by this calm appearance. If I try to move even a little, he'll strike this exact spot first." He remembers Sao's words. When a predator hunts its prey, the predator's faster, but it doesn't look at the prey so easily. Our hero asks about the reason for that. So our hero answers him, "That's because most prey move in a zigzag pattern." So Sao tells him, "Exactly. Most predators can't hunt prey like that easily. Still, some predators are incredibly successful at hunting. The reason is that they attack according to the movements of the fleeing prey." So our hero asks him, "How does someone defend against something like that?" Sao replies, "Didn't I tell you it's all about movement? So what do you need to do next?" We cut back to the present and see our hero saying, in this situation, then he lets out a long scream and runs at full speed. He says, "I have to make it completely impossible for him to predict my movements." So our hero escapes at lightning speed from the ghost killer. Our hero says the expected zigzag and the first step. Then the ghost killer appears in front of our hero. But our hero dodges the attack and says, "Dodging with the wandering beast sword against a predictable strike." And the second step is to create an opening with unpredictable movements. And the third step? Then he finds the sword right in front of his head, about to pierce his neck. So our hero says, "Damn it, it's too late." But he finds that the sword isn't moving. Then the ghost killer puts the sword back in its place. Our hero is surprised. He wonders to himself, why did he stop? Could it be that he crossed outside the Forbidden Zone? The ghost killer stands in front of the stairs our hero escaped from. And our hero says to himself, "In the end, all I managed to do was save my own life. I couldn't create any opening against him." Our hero escapes and says, "That is the master. Was I just a frog in a well, I wonder?" Then, in another place, we see our hero saying, "I've mastered the killer devil's arts. The world of the combat ghost was something I couldn't even comprehend. The skill of true masters is on a completely different level. The monster who killed my grandfather, that other guy must have possessed martial arts of terrifying power. So I can get my revenge and kill the one who murdered my grandfather. I have to surpass this world, no matter what it takes." At this point, he sees someone next to him saying, "You must be Yule, right? I've been looking for you for a long time. I heard you mastered the Wandering Beast sword." So our hero thinks to himself, he's talking like he knows me. Did he exchange information with others, like the giant who also used the White Devil's voice? And he tells the man, "No, I didn't." The man is on the verge of dying. There's no need for him to know my name. "I'm coming for you now." He charges at our hero with incredible speed, but our hero easily dodges his attack. Then the man says to him, "Oh, impressive. Senses like a beast. You anticipated the path of my strike in advance, just as expected from someone who's going to become one of the 10 demon followers. I'm going to rip out the butt of a demonic seed right here and now." He attacks our hero with a flurry of blows. Our hero is surprised by how completely the man's sword intent has changed. but he just said demonic seed in front of our hero. He remembers what Sojin said. I know that not everyone who gathered here came just to become a member of the 10 demon followers. So our hero says to himself, could it be that this man? No, I need to clear these distractions from my mind. Wait a second, this feeling. He then blocks the next strike coming at him, and he deflects the second blow. But then he feels a powerful force pulling him toward the man. He remembers what his grandfather Bojin said to him. Ah, that man fell victim to the 5 severing blades technique of the Bing clan from Kabi. So our hero asks, how did you know that, Grandpa? His grandfather replies, there isn't a single external wound, yet his entire skeleton is filled with tiny cracks. The hallmark of the 5 severing blades technique is that the force generated with each strike penetrates the body. What huge mistake did he make to provoke a master from the Bing clan? They rarely show up in the martial world. And our hero says, the 5 severing blades technique. So the Bing clan is from Kabi? The young man from the Kabi clan is surprised and asks, how? How did you know that? He remembers what his grandfather Bujin said. Another trait of the 5 severing blades technique is the powerful pulling palm. Our hero is puzzled and asks him what he means by that. Then Grandpa Bujin says to him, yes, this is one of the core techniques whose power comes from inner energy, like a vortex that pulls in everything around it. It draws in anything close to the person using this vortex. Using this with every strike interferes with the opponent's weapon, causing the sword's path to go astray, shattering techniques, and overwhelming the confused opponent. It really suits the Bing clan, Hidden Tiger. Then our hero says, so Grandpa, is Hidden Tiger the strongest sect? Grandpa Bujin replies to him, the pulling palm is really annoying, but it brings the user closer to their opponent. It's a double-edged sword. It can even harm its user and all that. And our hero says, actually, using this pulling palm, I'm going to use it for myself. I'll face the opponent's sword head on instead. Then a young man from Hidden Tiger says to him, I'll face you as I should. I'm Bing Jack from Hidden Tiger, of the Bing clan of Hidden Tiger. I'll uproot you demonic scoundrels from your very roots. He charges at our hero with a very powerful strike. But our hero dodges the attack, and he slams his sword straight into the ground. Bing Jack is surprised and says, why did he stab his sword into the ground? Then, Bing Jack is instantly pulled toward the spot where our hero drove his sword into the ground, thanks to the absorbing or pulling palm technique. Here, our hero lands a blow right in the middle of his ribs, breaking a few of them, and thinks to himself, it worked. This is excellent. We see Bing Jack frustrated, saying, that was such an obvious trick, you devil. So our hero, Yule, thinks to himself, the trick worked, but it looks like the damage wasn't that serious. Well, his body is tough because of years of training, but I found a surefire way to break through. He remembers what the master of the 3rd internal principle said and thinks, I'll reverse the demonic absorption technique to make my sword style faster than the tyrant's blade. Then Bingja Kavi attacks again. Our hero says, without resisting the pulling force, I'll apply my sword technique to it. And if I just change the direction at the very end, then our hero aims his sword right at the center of Kabi's head, but Kabi dodges the attack at the last second, steps back, and thinks to himself, what the heck? Don't tell me he's using the demonic absorption technique. That's impossible. The demonic absorption technique, part of the 5 shattering blade style, has enough power to pull a boulder from a distance. Using such immense power skillfully is difficult even for sword masters. There's no way a brat like him could pull that off. Kabi attacks our hero again and says, here I come again. But our hero says, that's pointless. The stronger the demonic absorption technique gets, the faster my sword becomes. Then our hero lands a slashing blow on Habib, who says, when are you going to realize that a cheap trick like that won't work? Our hero dodges an incoming attack and says, the demonic absorption technique has disappeared. And Khabib continues his pencox a lot. I don't need the demonic absorption technique to deal with a punk like you. He attacks our hero and says, take this. So our hero says, Yua, I've been waiting for this. He uses the first technique of the Blazing Rainsword sect. From mystery, a deeper mystery is born. He passes right through Kabi's pencox a lot, and he stabs him really hard right in the middle of his shoulder. He leans on his sword and says, don't say anything to me. So our hero replies, exactly. That's the first technique of the Blazing Rainsword sect, the Radiance Beyond Desire. And our hero says to himself, that was really close. So Kabi's penchok says to himself, in order to switch the deadly sword technique from the defensive form of Radiance Beyond the Air to offense, he had to endure all the sword techniques directed at him. Then he says to our hero, I never thought you'd do something like that. What, are you just gonna walk away? So our hero replies, my revenge is none of your business. So Penchak tells him, Meeting someone like you in the demon sect? It's something interesting. I hope we don't cross paths again. So our hero leaves him and walks away. After that, one of the assassin ghosts comes and says to Kabi's penchar, "You came to kill me. I'm the spy." Stand up, Gabi. For a man from a righteous sect, you were really useful. What a shame. So Benjok asks him, "Did you know from the start?" And the ghostly killer tells him, "You relied on the demon sort too much. Goodbye." After that, Benjok Kabi's blood spreads everywhere. Then we move to another place and see someone we've seen before threatening our hero, Sojin. He's badly wounded, and in front of him, someone says, "Your luck has really run out, Sojin. Did you really think you could escape from us after being struck by a special poison needle from the Bloodhell Fortress without the antidote? You're as good as dead anyway, aren't you?" Sejin himself says, "Damn it, facing a group that uses hidden weapons and poison so systematically all by myself. I've reached my limit." Then the person chasing him, along with the others, says, "Do you really think you'll attack me with your left hand, no matter how good your fighting skills are? Someone who fights with their right hand can't suddenly wield a sword with their left hand skillfully out of nowhere. Give up, Sojin." And at that moment, they all jump on Sojin, wanting to finish him off. So he swings his sword one last time. But then he gets hit with another needle right in the middle of his right hand, and he thinks to himself, "Damn it, I've been hit with another poison needle. Now, if I don't drink the antidote within an hour, now, it's over anyway." Sojin closes his eyes. But immediately, he hears the sound of scraping and then screams. He asks, "Who did that?" Sojin opens his eyes to see the corpse of one of the people who was chasing him. Then another guy says, "Yeah, someone set us up in an ambush." Right after that, our hero Yul appears from behind us, with a look that's honestly terrifying, completely devoid of thought, filled only with the intent to kill. Our hero, Yul, charges at the remaining ones. He starts cutting them down left and right, to Sojin's utter shock, and he literally manages to take them all out. So Sejin says to him, "Wait, I've no hostility toward you." Then our hero goes to check the bodies and finds something among the clothes, which turns out to be the antidote. Yul says, "So this is the antidote. Now I can deal with the rest of the Hellblood sect much more easily." He leaves Sojin and walks away. He calls out to him and says, "Wait, you." Yul replies, "What? What do you want?" Sojin says, "I've been poisoned by their venom, and there's less than 15 minutes before it spreads throughout my whole body." Yell says to him, "You seem to be missing something here. I came here to wipe all of you out, and that includes you. I'm letting you live only because there's no need for me to waste my energy killing you." Sayajin says, "I get it. Even if you leave me, I'll die soon anyway. In your eyes, I'm just another rival you need to get rid of, right? So, what do you think about this? If you give me the antidote, I'll join your side." Yell is surprised and says, "And why should I do something like that?" So Sejin says to him, "There are only about 20 people left, and they're far from us. It looks like the rest have all formed their own groups. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to face all of them alone. If you work with me, I know their techniques and strengths, so I can definitely help you. And more importantly, if you save my life, I will never betray you." So our protagonist thinks to himself that from what he's seen so far, this guy is proud and very self-confident. But he doesn't seem like the type who would betray or deceive anyone. Our protagonist asks him about the conditions, so Sejin tells him, "Until it's just you and me left standing, we team up against everyone else. And we both agree not to attack each other." He sees a tear in Sojin's eyes, so he throws in the antidote, and our protagonist, Yual, thanks him. Then our protagonist looks off in another direction with a deadly look and intent and says, "That sound, did another forbidden zone just appear?" He tells Sojin, "We need to get out of here right now." Sojin asks him why. "I don't think this place has been designated yet." Yul tells him, "Think about it carefully. Most of the areas have already become forbidden zones, and now another one just appeared. Everyone will gather here soon." Suddenly, we find that our protagonist and Sojin are surrounded from all sides. Here, Yul says, "This is a statement that there's a high chance the remaining survivors will come here, but is it already too late?" Our protagonist spots someone watching him from afar and says, "That person is different from all the others." One of the newcomers says, "What is this? You're all just standing there with your arms crossed, watching to see who will kill whom? Wouldn't it be faster if I just took out these two right here and now?" Then Sojin says, "Yul from our wing, the one who mastered the art of the beast." And the other one, Sojin, an impressively skilled duelist, even investigated the trainees. We shouldn't underestimate him, unless he teams up with someone else. But the decision these two made was to form an alliance, so Yul says himself, just as expected. They know about me and about Sejin too. Seojin and Yul look at each other, and our protagonist says, "That bottle from earlier was the antidote." I get it. Then Sojin opens the bottle and takes out some poison. Yule says, I'll spread all the poison when the opportunity comes. That's when we'll have a chance to win. He spreads all the poison. The people they're attacking say, it's the deadly Bloodhell sect poison. Damn it. Our protagonists, Yule and Sojin, make their escape. Then one of them says, wait a second, that's not poison, he tricked us. Seijin says, this powder creates a lot of smoke. It's an example of deception. The open fields are never in our favor. We have to head to the Rocky Mountain with those narrow caves, Dak. Sojin says, you're thinking what I'm thinking. Right. We need to find a cave that gives us the advantage, right away. Our protagonist Yol tells him, I know a cave with a narrow entrance and a long passage inside. Sojin thinks to himself, even he realized something like that. I found it hard to believe he mastered the art of the wandering beast. Who is this boy? Seriously. Their pursuers catch up to them and are about to capture them. Then the mountain with all the rooms appears before them. Sojin says, we finally arrived. But at that moment, a fog spreads. Sojin says, what is that thing? Has there always been fog like this? Yol says to him, something's wrong here. Suddenly, all the ghost assassins appear, completely surrounding the place. Sojin says, ghost demons? Don't tell me this is the forbidden area. Yul says, they must have been watching the situation closely. They deliberately designated this place as a forbidden area because we tried to escape here. Sojin says to him, damn it, what are we gonna do? Yul replies, as long as we don't cross the border, the spirit demons won't attack us. We had to fight anyway. So fighting here isn't a bad idea. Standing still in the forbidden area, behind us, it's like standing on top of a cave wall behind us too. He says, we don't have any other choice. That's right, buddy. And the two of them stand facing those coming at them. And one of them says, so this is where it ends. And they all gather around our hero and Sojin. And the two of them stand in front of him. Then one of the guys chasing our hero says, what's with all this boys? There's no point in dragging this out. Let's finish him off in one blow. And they all attack our hero Yul and Sojin. And there are literally about 10 of them. We see the boss, Rien, watching the whole thing from above, saying, this might be the final battle that will decide the 10 demon lords. One of the guys attacks our hero with a ton of hidden needles and daggers, but Yul dodges them and finds someone in front of him attacking him. But our hero Yul cuts down that person and sends him flying away. And Sujin is in the same situation. He's literally putting his life on the line, taking a really powerful hit, blocking it at the very last second, and getting knocked far back until his back is against Yul's. They're surrounded from every direction. So Sujin lowers his sword and says, is this really gonna be my end here? I've lived a good life. I'm not regretful about anything. Then our hero himself says, I'm not regretful about anything. Unlike you, I won't let myself die in a place like this. And then two of them attack our hero Yul, but Yul sloshes both of them down, dropping them to the ground, then keeps running and continues fighting and killing everyone around. They say, what kind of swordsmanship is this guy using right now? Let's get rid of him first before his friend. And then they all attack our hero Yul. So Yul says, I'll move according to what my senses and instincts tell me. Haven't I mastered using the sword yet? That's what my master Sao used to tell me. Then our hero attacks and slashes down everyone in his path in a truly brutal way. Rian is impressed by him from afar and is surprised by what our hero did. Then our hero says himself, Master Sao's technique is really practical in sword fighting in this situation, but in the next moment, he takes a really strong hit, blocks it with his sword, and is in a lot of pain. The person attacking him says, I finally brought you down. He uses a strange technique that breaks our hero's sword and lands a massive blow that literally sends our hero flying far away. So Sojin calls out to him. Then the person in front of Sujin says, unfortunately for you, we've already caught your foolish friend. Sojin says, now, move Yul quickly in this place. And before our hero Yul realizes it, he hears Sojin's voice saying that this is the forbidden place. He finds one of the ghost assassins above him. The assassin is reaching out his hand to get to our hero Yul, who is staring death in the face. At that moment, Ryu takes a deep breath and lets out a shout that stops everyone in their tracks with the word, enough. Sao also steps in and puts his sword to the ghost assassin's neck in a very strange way. Sao, whom our hero had only seen before when he was teaching him the Lost Beast technique. Our hero is surprised and says, Master Sao? After that, our hero collapses to the ground. Rion says, hurry up, get him to the doctor quickly before this boy dies. Coach Jock says, but sir, if we stop the third test like this. Rion replies, I will take full responsibility. And to himself, he says, finally, I found it, the vital reactions. The calmness he's in is a gem that lacks nothing at all, and we shouldn't just let it go like that. A true warrior from the 10 demons. Then we see someone saying, "Sir, what are you planning?" Another person replies, "10 people will be chosen as the new warriors, and 2 additional ones will serve as the eyes and ears of the 10 demon clans, according to the will of the Great Spirit." The original planned final member was 12 warriors, and we learned that this is the head of the demon hall, Hua. Hua continues speaking, "You finished the test with 2 extra people remaining, so it's clear you'll be punished for that, Ryan." Rian responds, "I'm ready for any punishment." Hua says to him, "Oh my god." Soon, the envoys from the 10 sects will arrive. "I don't know if they'll accept what's happened or not." Rian replies, "Don't worry, there's no way their eyes would miss the value of the gem I saw." Then, somewhere else, our protagonist wakes up and says to himself, "Where exactly am I? This place appears to be where the wounded are treated." He finds that his wounds have healed, and he says to himself, "It's not just my external injuries that have been treated, but even the internal injuries caused by the repeated attacks. This person might be even stronger than I thought." At that moment, our protagonist opens the door and finds someone saying to him, "You're awake, student. Please follow me." When our protagonist steps out, he's surprised by the number of students present and asks, "Where am I?" The person responds to him, "You're at the Hell Island Center." "A center? I couldn't reach this place during my investigation." So that was the reason then. The person with him asks, "Do you want to request anything? If there's a particular dish you want, we can prepare it for you." After thinking for a bit, our protagonist asks for 2 plates of pasta, looks at them, and remembers his memories with Jude and Bojin. He sits down and eats. At that moment, Sojin comes over and says, "I see you're a big fan of pasta since you ordered 2 plates. So our protagonist asks him, "Sojin, is there something you want?" Sojin replies to him. He says, "How should I put this? I just wanted to thank you for saving me, to be honest. If I hadn't met you during the final test, I would have ended up as a lost soul wandering the underworld." Yule says to him, "I saved you? You're the one who killed those people." Sojin replies, "You don't understand. Originally, only 10 people were supposed to remain after the 13th test, but the instructor stopped the test to save you. That's why now there are more people than the set limit. In the end, from my point of view, I feel like I'm alive because of you. And for that reason, I wanted to thank you. But seriously, I'm not the type who goes around saying nice things like that. I just wanted you to know, that's all. You were unconscious for a long time. It was like that for 4 days." Our protagonist is surprised and says, "I thought it was just 1 day." So Seijin replies to him, "You're lucky. It just so happened that the wide senses are here. No, that's not what I meant. In the past, he was called the Holy Hand, but his spirit became a bit troubled after he failed to save his beloved. So our protagonist says himself, he was the same doctor who said he could save any soul from any injury as long as they were breathing. So he's the one who healed me, huh? If only I had met him before my grandfather died." So Seijin says to him, "Let me tell you something. Consider it a favor from a colleague to those people we dealt with. Those are experts sent by the 10 demonic sects. And it's said that the 10 masters are chosen based on their evaluation." So our protagonist says, "That's probably why I felt their level was similar to Dinan's." "Oh right. Do you know the reason why the test leader saved me?" So Seijin says, "That's what I want to know too. I think he genuinely wanted to make you one of the 10 masters. Is it possible that you have some connection to the sect you came from? Or maybe he owes a favor to your sect leader." Then our protagonist, UL, replies, "No, I don't have any connection to him at all." So Seijin says, "I guess that makes sense. So the leader was severely punished for saving you. I heard he lost his position as leader and was demoted to a lower rank." Our protagonist Yule thinks for a moment and says, "There are a lot of things I just can't understand. Why would someone with no connection to me save me and risk being punished?" And then a bell rings. Our protagonist is surprised by it, and Sojin says to him, "I think it's time. Let's get moving." This is a warning for everyone left on Hell Island, which means the leaders of the 10 demonic sects have arrived, and a huge number of people start coming in, all dressed in really fancy clothes. The place is filled with everyone who survived the 3rd test on Hell Island. Our protagonist speaks up himself. The atmosphere is calm. There are a lot of people moving, but you can't hear a single sound, not even a single footstep. The first person approaches and says, "You there, young man. Come join my sect." And this turns out to be the leader of the Ghost Spirit sect. So the person behind our protagonist says, "Are you talking to me, sir?" The leader of the Ghost Spirit sect replies to her, "Yes, of course I'm talking to you. Step forward, boy. Do you want to join me?" The boy says, "I used to practice martial arts, but I'm not very skilled." The leader of the Ghost Spirit sect responds to Anne, "That's not a problem at all. You were born with the ability to learn this. You were learning martial arts with perfect talent. But you couldn't succeed with a backbone like that. If you accept my offer, follow me, So the young man follows him immediately. Then the other person says, "My turn. They say elders have sharp insight." And we find out that this is the leader of the Hell sect, the owner of the 10,000 poisons and the Red Knight Spirit. And people themselves call him the leader of the Hell sect, the master of poisons who can kill all living creatures with a single move. Then the Red Knight Spirit, Seo Jin, says, "Will you become a member of the Hell sect, I wonder?" Seo Jin is surprised and says to himself, "I was called the Bamboo Genius Yusuf when I was young, and now he wants me to join his sect that specialized in poisons." The Red Knight Spirit continues, "The most terrifying weapon in the world is poison. You tried to kill all the trainees before the third test using poison. Isn't that right? After you failed, you cleared the evidence." Seojin responds, "They started this. I only did it because they tried to kill me first and accused me of murder. That's a stretch." Then the Red Knight Spirit says to him, "I'm not blaming you here. The ability to take many lives without hesitation for a specific purpose is a trait that fits the toxic nature of humans. That's why I actually find you somewhat impressive. Maybe you think you have a talent for swordsmanship, but that alone won't be enough in the world of martial arts. But only the chosen ones can destroy the world of martial arts with swords and knives. And you have a much greater talent for using poison than for using the sword." So Seojin looks at our hero Yul from afar and says, "The chosen ones, huh?" He said he picked up the sword for the first time during the test, but his achievement at that time alone was equal to what I accomplished in 10 years. If that's the opinion of the Night Spirit, then there's no problem. And Sojin says, "I'll join the Hell Sect, Mr. Red Knight Spirit." So the Red Knight Spirit tells him to follow. Then a person appears and says, "My name is Hyuk from the Windsword Sect." And we find out that this person is the best swordsman in the current demon party, the sword demon of the Wind Sect, and his name is Hyuk. Then he looks around a lot and says, "The disciples themselves, the disciple of the leader of the Wind Sword Sect, the best swordsman in the martial arts world. Who do you think he's planning to choose?" They all hope it'll be them. So Hyuk says, "Your name was Yo." Right, not just the hall master, but also the head of the trainees. He said your abilities are great and you've inherited the Heavenly Hallmaster's technique. So our hero replies, "Yes, that's true." Then Hyuk says, "I'm looking forward to your future achievements. Don't choose for yourself. Still train well." Our hero looks around and spots Sao from afar. So our hero says, "I'm not going to join the Windsword Sect." So Hyuk says to him, "What did you just say? Do you dare to refuse my offer?" And he puts pressure on our hero with his energy. And honestly, our hero is about to be crushed. So our hero says, "I really don't want to join." Then Hyuk says to him, "You refuse to join our prestigious sect? I wonder who you think is better than us." Then our hero surprises everyone and says, "I'm gonna join the Stray Beast Wing." Hyuk gets angry and says, "What are you saying? You mean the lowest ranked wing among us? Do you dare to belittle our sect?" And Hyuk unleashes even more of his power. And our hero says to himself, "I feel like my whole body's about to collapse just from his energy alone." Of course, he's the best swordsman the 10 evil sects have ever known. But Sao steps forward, stands in front of our hero, Ul, and shields him from that pressure. Hyuk gets even angrier and says, "How dare a nobody like you block my way?" So the pressure is now directed at Sao himself. Sao tries to draw his sword. The people around say he's about to draw his sword in front of the sword demon. That's insane. Our hero says, "Sir," Hyuk continues, "just because you're close to the Hall Master, you think you can cross the line?" The people present say, "If the sword demon loses control, the students here could die. We have to stop him right now." And just before the sword demon draws his sword, Hyuk puts his sword back. Then someone steps in and says, "Oh my god, isn't the atmosphere here way too intense? Stop, please." And it's someone coming from afar. So Hyuk says to him, "Yanjin." He replies, "Getchin, let this go for my sake." And we find out that this is the deputy leader of the Wandering Beast Wing, and his name is Danshing. So the others say, "No problem." Problem? Alright. And after that, the Wandering Beast Wing has to recruit someone anyway, right? Huck gets angry, turns around and walks off, saying, "If you want to take him, then do it quickly. I feel like my sword is about to be drawn on its own." Danshing thanks him for his restraint. He looks at our hero, Yul, and says, "We should get going too. Let's go." So our hero Yul walks behind Sao, thinking to himself, that aura I felt from him was filled with a strong killing intent and a desire to finish me off. If they hadn't intervened at that moment, I would have died. Our hero continues following Sao. Then we see Sao saying, "Your skills have improved a lot since the last time I saw you." Our hero replies, "That's thanks to you, sir. You taught me the art of the wandering beast." Sal laughs and says, "I never thought you'd choose me." Yell replies, "For many reasons. I saw that the path of the wandering beastwing is the most suitable for me." At this point, Danting says, "We've arrived. This is the wandering beastwing." The place is much bigger than the hall he saw before during the Hell Island test. He thinks to himself, "I expected to find a calm, majestic atmosphere." So Danting says to him, "You're surprised, right? Unlike the other sects that control the markets around them, our wing is self-sufficient." Then our protagonist asks, "But aren't there any disciples my age inside the Wandering Beast Wing?" So Danting tells him, "We did have some younger disciples join us after they heard about the origins of the Wandering Beast Wing, but most of them either died or ran away during our training." So he replies, "Yule, I get it." Then Danting says to him, "If that's the case, this place should suit you. This will be your residence from now on. If you need to fix anything, just talk to the blacksmith and you'll be able to get whatever tools you need." "All right, let's get going, Sal." Sal says, "All right, I'm heading out now. Keep training hard." Then our hero says to him, "Master, aren't you going to stay here?" Danting replies, "Sao is the master of the secret hall, and no matter what, his job is to protect you. He doesn't have the authority or the ability to recklessly confront the sword demon, and that's why he has to pay the price for his actions." Our hero says, "The price for his actions?" So that's the reason for his departure now. Then Theo says to him, "Don't worry too much. It's just a light punishment, and it won't take long. And don't slack off in your training just because I'm not here. I'll be checking in on you from time to make sure you keep up with your training." He leaves our hero and walks away, wishing him to take care of himself. So Dantain says, "Right now, you still don't have the right to call yourself a disciple of the Wandering Beastwing." Our hero is surprised and asks him, "Why?" Danting tells him, "You've become one of the 10 demonic disciples. But that doesn't mean you're an official disciple of the Wandering Beastwing yet. There's no place for the weak in the Wandering Beastwing." Our hero is startled by Danting's intimidating look and asks, "Does that mean if I become strong enough, I can become an official disciple without going through any other procedures?" Danting replies, "That's right. In our wing, we don't care about empty appearances. Every disciple of ours is considered a part of the Wandering Beast Wing itself. So there's no need to force them into an oath or a superficial allegiance, so don't worry about that. Instead, focus on learning martial arts and getting even stronger. Strength is what makes you worthy to become a disciple of the Beastwing. And everyone here is your teacher. But whether they choose to teach you is entirely up to them. Look at that mountain. That's Ironstaff Mountain. After that, we see our hero at Ironstaff Mountain. He's climbing the place. And it's really high up. He tells himself, "In a little while, I'll reach the top." He remembers what Dancing said to him, telling him, "Tomorrow you'll climb Ironstaff Mountain. The master who will teach you the ultimate chi refining technique is waiting for you there." After that, our hero reaches the summit. Someone asks him, "Are you the one chosen to be one of the 10 demonic disciples of the Wandering Beastwing?" Yule replies, "Yes, that's right. And I came here after hearing what Deputy Master Danting said." The man replies, "You must have come to learn the chi refining technique. You've already mastered the refining technique before, yet you're still not satisfied and want to reach an even higher peak." Our hero is surprised, so the man continues, "Isn't the chi inside you flowing through your body right now? And it's at a level that shows it was built up little by little since your childhood." Our hero is really shocked by what the master said, so the monk in front of him responds, "So it comes down to two possibilities. Either you're the greatest liar in the whole world, or you learn the chi refining technique in your sleep." Our hero says to him, "I'm really not lying. You can see for yourself." The monk is surprised and says, "In that case, you wouldn't mind if I destroyed all the chi you have?" Our hero tells him, "Go ahead, do whatever you want." At this point, the monk is shocked and says to himself, "What is this? This boy's body is full of chi, but he never circulates it. That means he was accumulating chi in his lower dantian without using any technique to circulate it. And that's something unbelievable to happen under normal circumstances." He grabs our hero by the arm and says, "Boy, who are you? And who in the world taught you how to accumulate chi like this? Tell me right now. Explain everything to me." So our hero says, "What do you mean by a way to accumulate chi?" The monk replies, "Either you learned a secret to calm the heart, or a method to control yourself." Our hero says, "If you mean a breathing technique, then my grandfather taught me one." The monk asks him to show it to him. At this point, our hero starts breathing and draws in a huge amount of chi. The monk is shocked and thinks to himself, is he circulating chi while standing? That means he can circulate chi in any position. This breathing technique. Then our hero, Yol, stops and says to him, "You said your grandfather taught you this technique, right?" Yol replies, "Exactly. My grandfather is the one who taught me." And Yel thinks to himself, When I used to pretend to be dead with my grandfather, he taught me this technique and told me it was a good way to breathe inside a coffin. The monk says this isn't just a normal breathing technique. It's actually a method to accumulate chi in your dantian and build up physical energy. It's called the chi circulation and absorption technique. And it's different from the internal technique that lets you use the accumulated chi inside you. Your dantian contains chi that would take more than 10 years of intense training for a martial artist to acquire. Our hero Yu Yil is completely shocked. Then the monk asks him, "What was your grandfather's name, the one you're talking about?" So our hero tells him his name was Buji Yang. The monk says, "Buji Yang? As far as I know, there was only one man in the Murim world with that name, and he was the former deputy leader of the demonic sect, known as the greatest swordsman on the demonic path. The seven-branched demonic swordsman, Buji Yang." Our hero is completely shocked, and these words hit him like a bolt of lightning. He thinks to himself, was my grandfather really the deputy leader of the demonic sect? He tells himself, no, that's impossible. Why would the deputy leader of the demonic sect work as an undertaker, cleaning the bodies of people who died far from their homelands? At this point, the monk continues. However, the breathing technique your grandfather taught you is actually a secret art from the Shaolin sect. Our hero thinks to himself, the Shaolin? That righteous sect? Does this mean my grandfather was originally a master in the righteous sect? If the demonic sect found out about something like this, I could suddenly find myself in a situation where my life is in danger, instead of being one of the 10 demonic disciples. And here he tells the monk, don't be so scared, I don't suspect you. With the demonic sect's powerful intelligence network, they must have finished investigating your lineage a long time ago, and maybe they didn't find out about this breathing technique you learned. Now, I'll teach you an internal technique to fulfill my promise to the wandering beastwing. And I don't care whether you've trained in the arts of the demonic path or the righteous path. But if you tell anyone else about the technique I'm about to teach you, in fact, if you even utter a single word about it to anyone, I'll kill you and everyone connected to you. So our hero greets him. The man replies, my name is the Blood Monk. Our hero, Yulu, is surprised and thinks to himself, why do I have a Buddhist monk like him here? A scary word like blood in his name? The Blood Monk continues speaking. Do you know the difference between orthodox and unorthodox internal techniques? Our hero replies that he doesn't know. The Blood Monk tells him, orthodox internal power techniques, like the method of circulation and absorption I mentioned earlier, rely on having a medium to naturally gather chi in the body. But in the demonic path, they use any method as long as it gathers chi inside them, and that's why they can obtain a huge amount of chi right from the start. But since these methods go against the body's nature and the principles of martial arts, they don't last long. So in the long run, orthodox cultivators completely surpass them in the purity and quality of their chi. But the reverse polarization technique that I'm going to teach you is free from the restrictions of demonic arts. It is the most wondrous and supreme internal technique under the heavens, the reverse polarization technique. And as they say, everything great, or everything precious, comes with a hefty price. Learning it is so painful that I ended up cutting off all my fingers and swallowing them too. And almost no one manages to harmonize their body with the flow of chi and their blood circulation, except for a rare few gifted individuals who, I'm sitting here. In the past, I was a master at the Heavenly Dragon Temple in Yunnan. But I was accused of breaking the law that forbids killing. So my belongings were destroyed and I was expelled from the temple. After that, while I was recovering my body's energy, I received great help from the Wandering Beast's wing. And to repay that debt, I promised to pass on my inner technique to anyone. And if you fail to master it, that means I failed to keep my promise. That's why I'm going to give you a test. I'll use the reflective force to open up 137 of your breakthrough points all at once, so you can learn reverse polarization. There must not be a single trace of Noxa energy in your body or blood. Usually, the points open up one after another over a long period of time, but we're going to open them all for you at once. That's why you're going to feel unbearable pain, and if you're not confident, you might give up. So after thinking it over, our hero says, I'll do it the way you want. Then the Blood Monk says, great, don't regret this. After that, our hero unleashes a huge burst of energy that blows up the whole place. The Blood Monk says himself that opening the points like this causes pain similar to having your bones cut out with a knife. Let's see how long he'll last with that confident spirit. But he's surprised to see that our hero not only endures the pain without screaming, his facial expression didn't change at all. and the sweat coming off him doesn't have any bad smell. He continues, wondering, could this boy really beat? Then the blood monk laughs and adds, there was never any backlash energy in his points to begin with. Then the blood monk laughs again and says, did you say your name is Yule? Yule replies, yes, that's my name. The blood monk tells him, from now on, I will pass down my internal technique to you, an inheritance. About half a year after that, with a bit of a time skip, at the top of the mountain we see the blood monk lifting a rock from the ground and throwing it at our hero, Yu, who's just standing there casually. He hits him on the back with the rock, and the rock shatters completely. He says, you finished the first stage, UL. We see our hero Yule's body, which has started to grow and get more muscular bit by bit. The blood monk himself says, even for me, the achievement he made is way greater than I expected him to accomplish in 6 months, something that took me 3 years. On top of that, by learning to regulate his internal energy and distribute the accumulated energy throughout his body along his 8 meridian lines, he was able to unleash his suppressed heavenly energy all at once, to the point that his body became so healthy I couldn't even recognize him. Then he tells him, let's start our training now. Our hero replies, sure, let's go, sir. After that, our hero sits in a meditation pose and says, I reached the first level so quickly thanks to that old man. But that's still not enough. The reverse polarization technique consists of 8 levels. I have to reach at least the 2nd level before I leave. At this point, the blood monk notices that something is wrong with our hero. He says, wait a second, those facial expressions, that's the 2nd stage of untainted hardened muscles. When you reach the 2nd level, your bones and muscles are in perfect condition to use your body's strength. But at the same time, this rapid change puts extreme pressure on your body. And our hero starts bleeding a lot. So the bloody monk comes up behind him and says, clear your mind and focus. He says that because of the sudden change, the body can't control the energy pathways. If he stays like this, he'll suffer fatal internal injuries. Since things have reached this point, I'll add my own imaginary chi. Then he starts injecting chi into our hero's body. Our hero wakes up again. He's shocked by the immense, overwhelming power he now has. When he looks behind him, he finds the bloody monk collapsed on the ground. So our hero asks him, Master, did you inject chi into me? Why'd you do something like that? The bloody monk tells him, don't worry about me. None of us will leave this place unless you master the reverse polarization technique properly. He thinks to himself, even though his words and appearance suggest he's harsh, he's actually the complete opposite. He says to our hero, I will never forget what you've done for me, no matter how long I live, master. But the bloody monk tells him, no. In fact, forget I ever existed in your life. He remembers Sao's words and thinks to himself, they all say the same thing. Then the bloody monk continues, if you really want to repay my kindness, then seek enlightenment and reach the 8th level. The level of perfection. The ultimate level. This is your only way to repay this favor to the poor monk standing before you. This monk lacked the qualifications. That's why, despite giving it his all and trying his hardest, he couldn't get past the 5th level. So Yule tells him, I'll do it for. And then the monk continues, now that you've reached the 2nd level, you no longer need me to teach you. What you need now isn't to master the reverse polarization technique, but to lay the real foundation for mastering martial arts. Go to Mount Taiyangnyang, which is located on the edge of the Wandering Beast Wing School. There, you'll learn a new technique. Yana. So our hero says, I hope you stay healthy and safe, master. Then he leaves the bloody monk, who replies, I wish the same for you. And after literally 3 months, we see someone saying, Chang Dai came back this morning and said he went to clean up the Blue Dragon faction. That's to be expected, since those bastards dared to lay their hands on our wing's disciples. When it comes to dealing with a faction that opposes the main wing, you'll always find Chang Dai there. So the first guy says, anyway, this news really put my mind at ease. Thinking about it, isn't it about time the spies came back? His friend replies, yeah, there they are, look. And we see some people flying like that. The first guy says, just use the entrance. Anyone who sees them like that would think they're thieves or something. And we see someone running and stopping at a spot. Then someone comes up behind him and says, look at him, he's standing in the perfect pose for a photo. You should have headed straight to the main hall since you're back. So why are you standing here? So what are you doing standing here, Bacon? And we find out that this is Baikon, the leader of the Stray Beast Wing spy team. Bacon says, oh, you're Danching. So Danching says to him, we can call each other by our names when we're alone, Baikon. Then Bacon replies, enough with the nonsense, Dancho. We can't let the already loose rules in the main wing get any more chaotic than this. Actually, that's good. I was planning to look for you anyway. So Danching asks him, why, is there something wrong? Baikon replies, I heard you brought in one of the 10 demons who has an exceptional talent. I was sure you were completely against the idea of the 10 demons. So why did you bring someone who was supposed to join the air sect into our wing? Danshing tells him, oh no, I didn't bring him. He was the one who chose to join us. He even turned down the air sect's invitation to join them. Baikon says, that exceptional talent chose to join us. Our sect. Danshing tells him, that's true. I was even about to get into a fight with that Dan swordsman because of him. But honestly, his decision is still pretty interesting. He was the one who chose to join our wing, which already has a bad reputation. Baikon is surprised and says, because of his refusal, the air sect decided not to choose any of the disciples to join them. Even the sect leader expressed his regret for not getting him. Danshing says, seriously, that's exactly what happened. Baikon says to him, you know very well, Vice Head of the Wing, that the main wing has been under constant pressure from the main hall for a long time. Because of that, I'm still being treated with a lot of inferiority. Danshing replies, I think you've been too affected by the trivialities of the martial arts world. Our wing's goal is to fully reach the peak of martial arts, not to impose control over the martial arts world. Bacon says to him, that idealistic image is useless. Anyway, there's something we urgently need to take care of. Where is the one who was said to become the main wing's disciple? He's in a situation where he could lose his advantage of being one of the 10 demons altogether, and might even be forced to his death. After that, our hero heads to a place, and we see him running over water with incredibly fast steps. Then we go into a flashback where we see someone saying, my name is Master July. I was once known as the Great Thief, the shadowless, swift-footed. The art I'm going to teach you is the martial movement arts, an art that blurs the line between movement techniques and footwork. And I named it the Shadowless Swift-Footed, after my own title. All the students in the Wandering Beast Wing who learned this art before are old men now and couldn't keep up with its rapid exchanges. Let's see how you'll fare. Then we see Master July completely shocked as our hero runs across the water at an incredible speed, exclaiming, oh my god, oh my god! Did you really reach the 3rd mastery level in just 1 month? At last, someone has appeared who can inherit my technique. With that, my role here comes to an end. I've now taught you all the basics. From here on out, strengthen your skills through real combat. And we return to our hero. We see Baikon and Dansheng watching his Cloud Steps technique. Dansheng says, that's the art of the Vanishing Shadow. Baikon replies, that's one of the martial movement arts that can't be mastered in a short time. Impossible. Has he been doing nothing but training and movement techniques since he arrived at the main wing? Dansheng tells him that's impossible too. That kid has only been here for half a year. Last month, he was at the top of Ironstaff Mountain learning internal energy techniques from the Blood Monk. So Baikon says to him, then the rumor that he mastered the Lost Beast arts in just 15 days on Hell Island was true. Dansheng replies, exactly, it's true. And that's because he drank all the supreme heavenly spirit water that Sao had. So I think his extraordinary neural network was activated early. Baikon says, but the Lost Beast arts aren't something you can master just by doing that. And it's said that the 10 demonic disciples, who were supposed to be 12, became 14 because of that boy. Is there still no sign of the Wing Master? Dansheng replies, yeah, thanks to him, I'm the one who had to take on all these boring tasks. Baikon says, did you know that the demonic sect was actually the one that started the 10 demonic disciples project in the first place? And for that reason, the 10 branches of the demonic sect never stopped complaining. Dansheng says, yeah, unlike the Lost Beast Wing, where only the strong succeed, so the leaders of the 10 sects had already appointed their successors in advance. And naturally, they were ordered to pass down their martial arts to the 10 demonic disciples under these circumstances. But wasn't the whole point of the 10 demonic disciples project at its core just a way for the demonic sect to create an assassin who could take down the great experts of the Orthodox faction? So Bacon says to him, so you knew all along, Deputy Wingmaster. But I think some of the 10 sects of the demonic sect still haven't realized that yet. So they had the disciples they chose as successors enter the 10 demonic disciples tournament. Dansheng says, that's not a bad idea. The most competent heirs will be chosen among the 10 disciples, no matter their background. Baikon replies, and that's how it was supposed to be under normal circumstances. But the son of the White Demon sect leader, whose name was Morgan, was killed by that kid down there. Dansheng asks, didn't the 10 sect factions also agree to the terms of the 3rd stage? It's unfortunate that his son died, but there's nothing we can do about it. Baikon says, and the White Demon sect isn't the only one holding a grudge against that boy. The Flaming Rainsword sect also hates him because of the unique lightning technique, since they say someone who isn't a disciple of their sect learned their advanced swordsmanship. Even the sword demon Hyuk is insisting strongly on punishing him. Ryu is stripped of his position as leader and is now suffering the punishment of solitary confinement. So Danching asks, from what I understand, what exactly are the White Demon Sect and the Flaming Rainsword Sect specifically demanding? Dakun tells him that the boy is to be summoned to the demon sect to test if he's qualified to become one of the 10 demon disciples, and that he'll be forbidden from ever using a sword again if he fails. Danshing says, impossible. I refuse this. So this boy has already become one of the 10 demon disciples and a disciple of the Wandering Beastwing. How ridiculous is it to ask a disciple of our main wing not to use a sword anymore? But our protagonist is watching them from afar, then quickly jumps over and says, Deputy Wingmaster, have you been watching it? So Danching says to him, yeah, and I see you've mastered the movement technique pretty well. Baikun asks, are you one of the 10 demon disciples from our wing? Danching replies, that's Baikun, the leader of the Wind and Cloud Wing and the main wing. Basically, they're spies. And you can call him Leader Baiken. Our hero says, my name is Yule, and I salute Commander Baikon. So Bacon says, great mighty. You came at the right time. There's something we need to talk about. Danching says, no. There's no need to say anything about this. Words that have no value. Our hero says, all this happened because of me, and I'll take responsibility for all my mistakes. Baikon says, I think he was listening to everything we were saying. Our hero says, excuse me. I was using the Eyes of the Empty Beast's Heart from the Wandering Beast Arts. Baikon says, not the Eyes of the Empty Beast Heart. It's a technique that expands the senses through vibrations in a state of stillness. That you used it during a movement technique. Our hero says, exactly. I tried to draw out the beast arts by following the ripples that spread across the water surface while I was using the movement technique. Danching says, he's always like this. Isn't that amazing? Baikon says, no doubt, if he's that much of a genius. So what do you think? Should we put our trust in this boy? Danching is surprised and says, are you suggesting we send him to the demonic sect to take that ridiculous test? That's just a trick to kill him. Baikon replies, the only goal of the demonic sect is to preserve the reputation of the late white demon sect leader's son, and they wouldn't go so far to kill him. That's why they set the location of the test inside the demonic sect itself, not in the white demon sect or the flaming rainsword sect. And if we reject this proposal, it will create a rift that would force the wingmaster to come out of seclusion. So Danching says to him, but for us to send a naive kid like him over there? That's when our hero says, I'll go. Danching says to him, hey kid. Our hero replies, I'll go to the demonic sect. Just like Leader Baiken said, what they really want is to save face. If they killed a rookie like me, it would be a disgrace for them. On top of that, as a disciple of a stray beastwing, I don't want to run away from a fight that comes my way. Baiken says, and he's right, Danchun. So the matter was urgent, and it was bound to happen sooner or later. So let's accept their demands for now, and make sure they can't hold anything against us later. Danching says, if I pass the test, get me a promise from them to end the conflict with the master of the White Demon Sect and the Flaming Rainsword Sect, on the condition that this promise is made if the disciple of the Stray Beastwing, UL, passes the test. Our hero says, understood, Master Danging. Then we see him standing in front of a gate, and the gate opens. He says to himself, when I first came to the Demon Sect, I was just a flame user who didn't know anything about martial arts. But now, I'm entering the Demon Sect as the heir to the Stray Beastwing. He tells the person accompanying him, this is the Hall of Knowledge, known as the brain of the Demon Sect. If you go in, one of the Hall's members will guide you. Our hero says, the Hall of Knowledge is the place that manages the Demon Sect and sets its strategies. It's similar to the Central Command Hall in the Morium Alliance. Here, I'll find out the nature of the test I'm about to undergo. As soon as our hero opens the door, he's surprised and says, it's like I've seen this before. We see our hero, YUL, entering to meet someone and saying, a messenger from the Wandering Beastwing has arrived. So our hero enters, greets the man in front of him, and says, my name is UL from the Wandering Beastwing. I greet you, master of the main hall. The master of the hall replies, my name is Park Xion. Are you even more tyrannical than the rumors say? And we learn that this is Park Xion, the master of the main hall. Xion continues, you must have heard about what happened, right? This incident has undoubtedly put our sect in a difficult position. Since the demands of the main hall can't be ignored, he tells him, our 10 demon heroes and the main hall are separate. Xion replies, of all the disciples, he can't just mention the 10 demon heroes. The Wandering Beastwing still doesn't care about the events of the martial arts world. just like it was when it was first established. Let me tell you, the main hall was originally an alliance between the 10 demon sects, and it was established to unite their forces together. It's not possible to consider them all as completely separate, but you also can't see them as a single entity like a coalition or something. According to tradition, the Hall Master is usually chosen from one of the members of the 10 sects. But the current leader wasn't like that. He doesn't belong to any sect. And on top of that, not all the sects have good feelings toward the Hall. So our protagonist himself says he understood that the relationship between the Hall Master and the 10 sects is nothing more than a cooperative one. That's why you often find that some of the sects hold a deep grudge or even hatred toward the Hall. And Xian continues, honestly, the 10 Warriors project isn't what it seems. It has absolutely nothing to do with choosing a successor for the 10 sects. The plan was to create 10 demons who could deal with the supreme lords of the Moriam Alliance. In other words, the 10 Warriors project was basically a plan made by the Hall to handle the Alliance lords. At first, the 10 sects rejected this ridiculous talk, but after repeated requests from the Hall, they sent their disciples. During this process, the Hall's greatest warrior, whom we called the martial arts prodigy, died. And he died at your hands. That's why, in many ways, the Hall is currently in a position where it can't do anything at all, except to comply with the wishes of the 10 sects. And for that reason, we summoned you for punishment, under the pretense of it being a test. Did you know that? Our hero responds, yes, I know. Then Xian says to him, I can already see that you're ready. Our hero replies, yes, and I won't object to any test you put me through. Xian says, that's really greed. Enough of the exaggeration and talking. I'll tell you directly what's going to happen because of this incident. The Sword House sect and the Back sect will offer you a small favor. This favor is granting you a special permit to enter the martial arts archive of any sect you want, but that's only for one day. This is the Golden Talisman that grants you entry. You can enter one floor out of the 3 floors. It's true that these 3 floors are the lowest ranked, but the first floor alone contains 25,000 studies explaining martial arts. And for you, I think it will be extremely beneficial. In other words, your chances of passing this test without running into any problems are close to impossible. That's why you have to give it your all so you don't regret it in the future. So Yule says, the content of this test is to withstand the 5 attack techniques imposed by the master. It was chosen by the Hall. Isn't that right? This is their test for me. So Xian says to him during the tournament to select the 10 warriors, Master Rion went so far as to step down from his position as master just to make sure you pass the test. Yule, even though I asked him several times why he did something like that, he said I'd find out for myself soon. That was his only answer. I hope you don't let me down in this test, kid. And he gives him the talisman. After that, we see our hero Yule head in summer. He finds Master Jack, or Coach Jack, waiting for him. So Jack says, Yule, you came. I heard about what happened. Did you come here to get ready for your test, right? So Yul says to him, yeah, but why did you come? Jack replies to him, I've got some personal matters to take care of here in the hall, as you can see. And the reason I helped Mr. Rian on Hell Island back then was because I was acting as the hallmaster, who had temporarily left his position at the time. So he says to our hero, so that's what happened. So Jack continues, you still haven't answered me. Did you come here because of your cast? Yul says to him, yeah, that's actually the reason I came. Jack looks at the talisman in our hero's hand and says, I see. Since our relationship is that of student and teacher, let me give you some advice. The world of martial arts shows no mercy. There's no such thing as a favor without a reason, and if there is a reason, it's usually a hidden one. The same thing applies to those who hover around you. Beware of that statement. But you can definitely use their favors to your own advantage. It always comes back to the root cause. After everything, keep this in mind and do your absolute best. So our hero thanks him for the advice, but Jack says, no, don't mention it. I hope things go well for you. After that, our hero heads to the library and says, the Yunjin Pavilion is a place with a history stretching back thousands of years. The door opens, and our hero sees several books. Several books? He actually sees a massive library filled with books. And he says, oh my god, this is definitely not an ordinary library. All the shelves are packed with secret martial arts manuals. Let me see what we've got here. He starts opening books left and right. And he says, of course, this was obviously a trap. No matter how special these manuals are, they're not something you can learn in just one day. If you get too greedy about this art or that one, you'll just end up wasting time without mastering anything. It must be that the person in charge planned this, taking advantage of my current situation and put me in a tough spot. The Windsword sect and the Bayak sect were both trying to distract me, and in a clever way. I have to stay focused to make the most of this opportunity. The branch grows from the root. So where is my origin, I wonder? Where's the origin of my art? And then he notices something and says, could it be? He runs to a spot and says, not here, not here, not here, not here. Found it. He picks up a book and says, Battles of the Wandering Beast. Just as I thought. The wing has its own unique arts after all. I wonder what its contents could be. And as soon as he opens the book in his hand, he's surprised and says, what exactly is this? Then, on the day of the test, at the training grounds of the great demonic sect, we see our hero, UL, walking in, looking very confident, while there are 4 people present. And one of them says, aren't you Yule, the disciple of the Wandering Beast Wing? My name's GL, and I currently reside in the back room of the Elders Hall. And I came here today to oversee your test. We find out that he's the former leader of the demonic sect, known as the Bloody Hand Geo. Geo continues, this is Song from the Fire Rain Sword sect. He is the leader of the secret Shadow Corps in the main hall. And this is Nong from the Wandering Beast Wing, who leads the Hall of Knowledge. And finally, this is Jugon from the White Demon sect, who is the leader of the Dark Dragon Corps. Since this whole matter started at the request of the White Demon sect and the Fire Rain Sword sect, because the White Demon sect wants to assess the qualifications of the 10 demonic disciples. And the Fire Rain Sword sect claimed there was unacceptable favoritism among the disciples, so if this boy passes the test, will the White Demon sect and the Fire Rain Sword sect stop demanding that he be punished for the previous incidents? So Song says, of course, and Jugan adds, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Then Geo continues, alright, let the test begin. And he cracks his knuckles like this. Then Jugon gets up from his chair, comes down, and stands in front of our protagonist. He says, 5 moves. If you can block 5 of my moves, you pass. He starts activating his power, which makes his sword sound just like a whip. He remembers what the master told him, to take out that boy Yun during the upcoming test. Juggin continues to himself, the sect leader asked me to kill him, but he's still just a kid. And I also have to memorize the 100 faces of the Wandering Beast's wing. But I'll settle for cutting off my arm at the 5th move. Then he lands his first strike. Yule is shocked and thinks to himself, I can't see any movement from him yet, he's way too fast. He dodges the first blow coming at him. Jugon continues. The first move is done. The White Devil rips the heart out of its place. Jugan says to himself, he's really mastered the basics. Then Jugan unleashes the second move, which is like a series of super fast sonic strikes. Our hero, Yule, realizes the attack is coming for him. He wonders, could this be it? Yule charges straight up the attack and dodges it. Juggin continues with the second move, the Descent of the White Devil's Spirit, so you can perceive the Phantom move. That means you've truly mastered the beast's path, but you need to be careful from here on out. You're doing really well so far, but what's coming next is tough. The third move, the White Devil's Shadow Net. Things start falling from the sky like swords, aiming for our hero. Yule is shocked and comments on the situation. I won't be able to tell the fake from the real, so I'll just dodge them all. Our hero, Yule, tries to dodge every strike. The spot where he's standing explodes, but Jugon opens his eyes wide. He's surprised to see our hero survive with only minor injuries, and our hero says he dodged it himself by pushing his inner energy to the max using the swift shadowless step technique. If this had been a real fight to the death, or if he had attacked me with that move several times in a row, I would have died instantly. Jugon thinks to himself, I thought I'd seriously injure him with that attack, but he avoided it. It might be difficult to cut off his arms in this condition, if there is no escape. He then performs the fourth move, the White Devil's Heartstring. Our hero Yell says, I will never be able to catch his attack. If you didn't realize it, I'm dead. But he notices something else and says, unlike the first pages, here the records clearly show the weak point in the path of the stray beast in detail. Did they write the insults in the introduction on purpose so that only the students of the stray beast wing would read them? Let's see. Isn't it that the beast's path can't do anything except rely on instinct alone? That's what beasts do. A master of martial arts has to think more. So his senses need to be well trained and excellent when necessary. And our hero activates all his senses. He realizes there's a strike coming right at his face, but he dodges the blow and deflects it far away in a strange way that surprises everyone present. And Gojin himself says, did he really dodge the White Devil's Heart Strike? That secret killing move that even the masters of the White Devil sect rarely manage to avoid. Do you get it? I finally understood why the White Devil sect and the Flaming Rain Sword sect both teamed up to kill this boy. So the root of all the problems has to be pulled out before it matures. Then he unleashes the fifth move, the White Devil's Shadow Serpent. And the serpent attacks our hero, or rather the sword. It's like something that moves like sound, or like a snake. He strikes multiple times, and the blow hits the ground but then bounces back. And that's what surprises our hero, UL. He tells himself, impossible. Is the move chasing me? The attack is about to reach our hero, ULL. It's heading straight for his face to kill him once and for all. He wonders to himself, is this technique really chasing me? And Gogon thinks to himself, the White Devil's Shadow Serpent is a deadly strike that never stops pursuing its target until it kills them. And it's only a matter of time before it devours his brain. Yule says, isn't this the move I dodged? And since things have reached this point, here, our hero activates the unique lightning technique from the Flaming Rain Sword. He thinks about the strike coming at him. He blocks Gogon's sword. He says, even though I used the unique lightning technique to its fullest, so it's no surprise that I could barely block it. If this keeps up, he'll break. But before our hero can finish his sentence, his sword shatters. The sword pierces his shoulder. Then he gets slammed hard into the wall. But he's still standing. He's only bleeding a little. He grabs his sword again and gets back on his feet. He gives a deadly glare. With a fierce, bloodthirsty intent to kill, Jojon feels a wave of intense fear. He says, did you see that? Even though his sword and right arm are shattered, his spirit isn't broken. What's up with this kid? If I don't finish him today, he'll become a huge threat to our sect. I have to finish him off right here. Jojon tries to do something, but his hand is grabbed. Nyang says, Master Jojen, the 5 strikes are over. Silence falls over the place. Jojon pulls his hand back and says, what is all this insolence? Nyang tells him, if Master Jojon doesn't keep his promises, then I won't honor the agreement made with the demonic sect either. At that point, Song steps in and says, hold on a second. This boy used the unique lightning technique during the test. And since this test was originally set up to resolve the issue of learning the Flaming Rainsword technique without permission, the entire test must be declared invalid. So Nyang says to him, you're exaggerating, that's all. Where in the agreement does it say he's forbidden from using the unique lightning technique? And on top of that, the lightning that boy unleashed wasn't reckless. If Master Chun had seen it, he would have been really happy. He would have been unbelievably happy. So Song says to him, are you mocking our sect now, Nyang? Nyang replies, not at all. Just a while ago, Legion Commander Jojen used the White Devil Shadow Serpent technique. That's the pinnacle of the White Devil Sound technique, and this boy countered it with Master Chun's Supreme Technique. That means your sect's Supreme Technique has overcome the Supreme Technique of the White Devil sect. So doesn't that mean the White Devil sect is a laughingstock in this situation? Jojen gets furious and Song is shocked. Then Nyang continues, saying what worries him more is the relationship between the Fire Rainsword sect and the White Devil sect. The two sects have had a good relationship for a very long time, and he's afraid that this incident will cause a major rift between them. Then Song speaks. This gathering is a secret test that only a few people in the Devil sect know about, and it's never meant for any news about it to leak outside. Jojen gets angry and turns to leave. Nyang continues. So the agreement will be carried out just as we planned. Isn't that right, Mr. Teal? Gio replies, exactly. As of today, the disciple Yule from the Wandering Beast Pavilion is once again recognized among the 10 Devil Disciples. The restriction on his use of the sword is also lifted. Myung laughs and says, I heard you put in a tremendous effort. You fought a flawless battle, a fight worthy of a disciple from the Wandering Beast Pavilion? But then he's surprised to see that our hero Yule isn't moving from his spot. He's actually unconscious. Myung says, now everything that could happen is over. After that, our hero Yule wakes up. He finds himself in bed again, and he's bandaged all over. So he asks, where am I? And he says to himself, why is it that every time I pass out, I wake up in a room fancier than the last one? What happened during the test? I remember that I held out until the end, but I can't recall the very last moment. What happened then? And I don't even know how much time has passed while I was unconscious. And what will happen if I didn't pass? I wonder what they're gonna do with me. Will they kill me? I guess I won't find out right now. I'll just do some breathing exercises while I wait. Suddenly, he feels his energy growing stronger and stronger. And he says, what is this? It's like a tremendous force has been born inside my body. And he remembers what the bloodthirsty monk told him, that his dantian contains something that would take more than 10 years of intense training for a martial artist to acquire. It's also a source of pure, genuine power. So if you activate the latent pressure points, your strength will increase instantly. So our hero wonders, did I activate my latent pressure points for this reason? This is the third stage of the reversed heart star. The light of the reversed flame. This is its third stage. The light of the reversed flame grants its user immunity to water and fire. Does that mean heat and cold no longer affect me? No, I don't really feel that yet. But at that moment, his daughter comes in and says, "You're awake." So our hero asks her, "Where am I? And what happened during the test?" The girl tells him, "This is the wing of the demon gatherers, or the elders of the demons, and it's the residence of the Lord of the Elders Hall." Yuel thinks to himself, "I'm not in a state king's hall for treatment, but in the residence of the Lord of the Elders Hall. Even I am ignorant of the affairs of the Morium world. I've heard about the Lord of the Elders Hall in the demon sect. That's the blood demon Bong, and he's a truly terrifying demon. One of the three demons and the three venerables. He's reached the peak in martial arts. Why am I in the residence of such a legendary figure?" The girl tells him, "My name is Sol, and I serve the Lord of Elders Hall. The master ordered me to introduce you to the inner hall as soon as he woke up. So I ask that you follow me." Our hero says to her, "The inner hall's champion." Sol tells him, "This is without a doubt the residence of the Lord of the Elders Hall." After that, we see our hero walking through a large garden. He says, "This garden is huge. It's like a giant patch of greens." The girl, Sal, tells him, "We've arrived." He finds someone waiting for him, an old man. Our hero sits down in front of him. The old man pours him some tea. He says, "I heard that you passed the test of the Flaming Rainsword sect and the White Devil sect. Congratulations to you." Our hero thanks him. He says to himself, "So I really did pass the test." He drinks the tea. Long asks him, "How did you find the tea? Is it good?" Our hero replies, "I'm not sure. I don't know much about tea." The old man says, "Didn't you once say you worked as a mortician?" I guess I have to mention that. My name's Bog. I am the master of the Elders Hall in the demonic sect." Yul says to himself, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm seeing with my own eyes the bloody demon who roamed all of Jinhu and killed countless experts from the Righteous Orthodox Alliance. A venerable and very calm elder. If I hadn't known that before I came here, I wouldn't have recognized him." He greets our hero and says, "I am Yul, disciple of the Wandering Beastwing. I greet the master of the Elderfall." Bong laughs and says, "You're not as simple as they told me you were. So even though you started learning martial arts late, your joints and muscles are still very flexible, and the foundation of your internal energy is solid and well built." Yule replies, "When I was a kid, I used to practice breathing techniques while playing inside coffins. I didn't realize it was a breathing technique for circulating internal energy until I joined the wing." So Bong says to him, "That's the reason, huh? Alright, as for the reason I brought you here instead of the Hall of the Medicine King, it's because there's something I want to tell you. Join the demonic sect after you finish your training in the Wandering Beast Wing." Our hero is surprised, and Bong continues, "Even though the Wandering Beast Wing is counted among the 10 demonic sects, it has a system that doesn't really fit the definition of a sect. And in 3 years, when you join the demonic sect, I plan to talk to the leader then and recommend you as a member of the Dark Heaven Corps." Our hero is surprised and thinks to himself, "The Dark Heaven Corps is the elite of the elite within the demonic sect, right alongside the Heaven Slayer Corps and the Soul Crusher Corps." And Bond continues, "If that happens, you'll get the best path leading you to the leadership of the entire sect. So, what do you think?" But our hero says to himself, "But with this offer," he tells Bong, "I refuse." Bong gets angry and says, "And what's your reason?" Yule replies, "Learning the arts of the Wandering Beast Wing. It's a matter of life or death. And if I'm given a position like that before I even start my journey, maybe I'd get complacent and fail to master the arts of the wing." Bong bursts out in a long, loud laugh. His laughter actually blows away everything around our hero, and it puts a lot of pressure on our hero, Yuel. Bong continues, "That's not a flaw at all in a martial artist's thinking. It is the best." Ha 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 ha. Yule himself says that the pressure of his internal energy is very strong. My insides tremble just from the sheer energy of his laughter. And Bong continues, "The relationship was close, boy, so I could see how much he would grow after 3 years. And this is the day we will meet again." And our hero realizes that this is a dismissal order. He asks Master Bong for permission to leave and walks away. So the follower asks him, "What do you think?" I've never seen anyone refuse the master's offer so clearly before. And I think he has what it takes to do that. Bong says, "Let's just keep an eye on things for how. Let's see which path he chooses." While our hero is walking, he suddenly stops and feels intense pain all over his body. He says, "I was on the verge of dying. I remembered that the White Devil Sex test and the Flaming Rainsword Sex test are the toughest trials. But here I am, getting knocked down by a blow from a mighty demonic master. If I had made even the slightest mistake, he would have crushed me." Someone comes up behind him and says, "Excuse me, are you okay? Do you have any problems with your body? Our hero finds himself in the marketplace. He's really surprised that he didn't notice this happening. He continues to himself, this is a peaceful scene I haven't seen in a long time. And it's strange that this familiar scene comes to me now. Since when did I change this much? I've gotten into a life I never wanted, over and over again. And as if to prove it, there's someone following me too. First, I have to get myself a weapon. He goes up to someone and says, hey, I'm looking for a weapon that can handle a good fight. So the blacksmith says to him, oh, if that's the case, pick anything you want from over there. I'll sell it to you for 5 coins, no matter what you choose. Our hero notices a sword, takes it, and leaves. He goes to an empty area and says, come out right now. Some people come out and say, your eyesight is really sharp. They gather around our hero, surrounding him from all sides. And one of them says, Yule, one of the 10 demonic disciples, before you become the devil's seed in 3 years and wreak havoc in the Morium world, we're gonna kill you here and now. And we continue with the rest of the events. So Yule says to them, I don't even know who you are, except that I don't want to kill all of you. Put your swords away and leave. They say to him, are you really talking like that when you're about to die? No one is gonna save your life after what you're doing. Yule replies, I guess there's no other way. He draws his sword and throws the sheath on the ground. One of the assassins says to him, there's no point in drawing your sword. Your life is in our hands now. Spread out the formation now. And they all quickly gather around our hero in a tight formation. Yule says, they started surrounding me from all sides. Are they planning to attack all at once? The first one of them attacks our hero, ULL. But Yell blocks the strike, so the second one attacks, but he dodges it. Then the third one attacks and manages to slightly cut our hero's face. Yule thinks to himself, the attacks keep coming in an endless chain. From the way their formation, breathing, and movements are so coordinated, it seems like they've been training together for a long time. Their joint attack is really well executed. But when I look at them through the path of the stray beast, I can see that the gap in skill between them is huge. So if I hit that opening that appears, the gap will only get bigger. Then he lands a decisive blow and takes one of them down. The assassins are shocked, and one of them says he discovered the weakness in the ancient 7-star sword formation of the Wudong sect. Did the demonic sect teach the 10 disciples how to break the formations of the orthodox sects? And one of them says, use the third formation. And they surround our hero again. So our hero, UL, says there's no point in changing the formation, because the gaps that appear due to differences in skill will never go away. And our hero, Yule, starts cutting through them right and left, right and left. He literally takes out 2 of them at an incredible speed. One of the assassins says, this is impossible. Did the demonic sect leak false information? They assured us that he hadn't learned any great sword techniques. So UL says, this isn't a fight between martial artists. It's a struggle for survival. You lost because you got cocky about your absolute advantage in a life or death fight. One of the assassins says, we really thought of ourselves as, we always saw ourselves as the hunters, and the enemy was the prey. We were sure we could kill him whenever we found him. But does that mean he wasn't the prey? But we were? UL continues. So, should we start over? The second assassin says, this guy's way beyond anything we calculated. We need to withdraw temporarily, report to the commander, and reinforce our strength. But the man with him stabs him in the stomach and says, our battalion will never retreat. To die while fleeing is an act that abandons honor. Yule says to him, is honor more important to you than life itself? The man replies, maybe that's how it is for devils like you. As for us, we don't raise our swords seeking personal glory. We fight for honor. Yule says to him, no way, no way. In the coffin's gap, there's no such thing as honor at all. He uses the unique righteousness technique and strikes down many of them with a powerful blow, finishing off 2 of them. And he finishes off the last one he was talking, dropping them all to the ground as lifeless corpses. And he says to the killer before he dies, Yule, a demonic seed, even if you remain a ghost, I will curse you. And they all fall to the ground, literally dead. The 7 who were there are now just lifeless bodies on the ground. And our protagonist says, this is truly a scene of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. I never thought I would face such a horrific sight, even after escaping from hell. But the place where I'm standing now is hell itself. And once again, I feel like I can't escape the cycle of hatred and gratitude. But this is the price of the path I chose to avenge my grandfather. And it's the cursed fate that I have to bear. Then someone comes up and says, you really created quite a scene here, Yule. Turns out it's Baikon, the Legion commander our protagonist Yule had seen before. So Yule says to him, Commander, how did you get here? Baikon replies, tracking your movements wasn't hard at all. He looks at the bodies and says, this is tough. So our protagonist asks him, why do you say that? Bacon replies, no, it's nothing. First, we need to return to the Stray Beast Wing immediately. After that, when they return to the Stray Beast Wing, we see Danshin sitting with them, pouring tea. He says to our protagonist, "You really put in a lot of effort, by the way, Yule. He came to me when he heard about your achievements. And as the deputy head of the Stray Beast Wing, I am very proud of you." Our protagonist replies, "Thank you, sir, for your words." Danshin continues, "The test wasn't easy. Did you get hurt at all?" Our protagonist replies, "Yes. Luckily, I received treatment at the Demon Gathering Wing for elders." Kun says to him, "The Demon Gathering Wing?" Danshin responds, "Did you meet the head of the Elders Hall?" Our protagonist says, "Yeah." And our protagonist tells them everything. Then Danshin says, "Oh my god, no wonder the Fire Rain Sword Sect and the White Demon Wing laid down their weapons so easily and surrendered. I didn't know that old man, the one who preys on people, was still at the height of his power and strength." Our protagonist replies to him, "Is the position of Elder Hallmaster really that important? Of course, we know about his individual strength, but in the Demon Palace, power is divided among three forces: the Demon Palace Lord, the Elder Hall, and the 10 demon sects." Bacon answers him, "Of course, especially the Elder Hall, since it holds wide influence because it includes the masters of the previous generation. On top of that, Bong, the Elder Hallmaster, is secretly building his own power away from the eyes of the Demon Palace Lord." Dan Cheng continues, "And when someone like him meets you in person, that means your achievement was truly remarkable." Our hero says himself, "The situation was far greater than I ever imagined." Dan Cheng continues, "So is there nothing else worth telling me about?" Lycan says, "That boy was ambushed." Dan Cheng gets furious, breaks the cup in his hand, and says, "Who dares to attack my chief disciple?" Lycan replies, "The Moriam Alliance. Judging by the attackers' weapons and belongings, it seems they're a squad under the command of General Lu Dong. I think the attack was carried out either by the Autumn Wind Corps or the Passing Cloud Corps." Dan Cheng says, "Is that true? If they're planning to pin the blame on the general alone, things would have gotten even worse. But they're targeting a kid who just recently joined my Beast Wing." Bacon says, "Maybe it's because of the rumors about his great talent, so he'll be a formidable rival in the near future. That's why they wanted to uproot the problem before it grows and the weeds spread. Dan Cheng himself hasn't even mastered martial arts yet he's already being targeted by the 10 demonic sects, the Elders Hall, and even the Moriam Alliance. There's no escape in this, because trials always chase after heroes. That's why we have no choice but to believe that this will only make the boy tougher and stronger." Yule says, "And with that in mind, I have a request I'd like to make." Dan Cheng asks him about the request, and Yule replies, "I've heard before about the Heavenly Spear Corps. This is the combat squad that wipes out anyone who harms or threatens the main disciples. I want to join them so I can learn martial arts through real battles themselves." Bacon says, "What kind of nonsense are you talking about? That place is home to the toughest and most lethal men in the main families, especially its leader, Sue, of the Heavenly Spear Corps. She has a sharp temper and is quite eccentric. And under the pretense of a test, she killed the disciples of a stray beastwing who lacked skill." Yule says, "I have no problem if I die because of my lack of skill. That would be my own fault. I'm aiming for rapid improvement, and to achieve that, I need to witness expert fights in real battles. And that's the most effective way." Baikon says to him, "That's not fun." Then Dancheng, Baikon's leader, continues, "This time our opinions differ. I want to trust this boy's judgment, and look at how he speaks with such confidence and composure. The next mission is in the Valley of Wind and Thunder. Right, there's no problem with him joining as a temporary member there." So Bacon says to him, "Deputy Wingmaster, try to understand me." But when he looks at our hero, UL, he finds him confident in himself. So he says, "Alright, if you're really insisting on this, then I understand. I'll deliver the message to Sue myself." Dan Cheng says to him, "I'm counting on you." After that, at the Blooming Inn, we see someone saying, "What did you just say? Are you asking me to take this little kid to the Valley of Wind and Thunder? Do I look like a nanny who takes care of little kids, or what?" "You're not." A lost beast. He tells her, "Baikon, this is a direct order from the Deputy Wingmaster." She replies, "What nonsense. I'll go meet him myself and refuse this matter." He shows her something in front of her face, and Sue is surprised by it. He tells her, "Baikon, this is the Heavenly Wolf Tablet, which symbolizes the Deputy Wingmaster. And you know exactly what that means." "Right. He said he's really busy and doesn't intend to argue with you." Sue gets angry. Baikon continues, "Sue, that boy isn't just a kid like you think. This time, he managed to foil the conspiracy of the Flaming Rain Sword Sect and the White Demon Wing, and he came out of it unharmed." Sue gets angry and says, "In my eyes, you and the Wingmaster, all of you with your busy work are teaming up to protect a little boy over such trivial matters." "Fine, I'll meet him. But in return, I'll put him through a really tough test to see if he truly deserves to be recognized as a disciple of the Wandering Beastwing or not. And we learn that the Valley of Wind and Thunder is a group that split off from a certain sect. It's a place where martial arts are honed through steel body techniques and body transformation. To achieve their goals, they resorted to human trafficking, which made them outcasts among both the righteous and evil factions alike. Yet their continued survival and endurance until now is explained by this. Their explanation is that their minds are a stronghold, naturally fortified by nature's own walls. That's why the Celestial Spear Legion, under the Wandering Beast Division, couldn't advance. After that, we see the Legion standing still. Sue says, "This is even farther than what we heard about." Her assistant replies, "The problem comes from the fierce winds present here. There are so many winds, which makes crossing not just bad, but really difficult. And there is also a watchtower. If we reveal ourselves, the guard inside will cut the bridge immediately and drop us." Sue herself says, this is a really tough mission. On top of that, I got stuck having to take a little kid with me. Sue says, "Hey Jaeyeon, do you think you can do it?" Jaeyeon says, "I'll do my best." We find out that this is Deputy Leader Ji-yeon. He throws a lot of knives, and they reach the watchtower, but there's no response. Our hero says, "Yul stopped doing this move a while ago, even if it looks easy." But without a doubt, it's the Heart and Sword Union technique that's taught in the upper halls of the Sword Sect, the Fiery Rain. He's a really smart and strong fighter. We see Sue asking him, "Is it over?" Ji-yeon tells her that the watchtower situation has been settled, but we need to pause for a bit and check. There might be hidden traps on the bridge. Sue thinks to herself, I don't want any harm to come to my men for some reason we don't know. That's why. She looks at Yul and says, "Hey you, cross the bridge." He tells her, "Our hero will do as you wish." Then our hero starts walking. He stands on the bridge and says, "With all this wind, it's impossible to keep my balance using the usual methods. That's why I have to plant my feet firmly on the bridge using the stabilization technique." Our hero activates the stabilization technique and starts running across the bridge. The assistant says he can master the stabilization technique with such precision. His inner energy is really strong. So Sue says, "Do you think that's an achievement?" The assistant replies, "Aren't your standards a bit too high, my lady?" Wait a second. That sound? That's dangerous. Really dangerous. And now, launchers appear. They start firing a barrage of shots at our hero. But our hero jumps into the air, doing flips and twists left and right. He steps on one foot, then leaps up, switching from one foot to the other. He dodges all the attacks. Then, one of the people there says, "The art of climbing steps with light footwork lets you jump again in the air by kicking off your other foot." I didn't expect him to get past a trap set up especially for high jumpers with that clever little trick. But that's not going to be enough on its own. After that, our hero finds a lot more attacks coming his way. They all exclaim, "Oh my god!" Dodging this is going to be tough. But then our hero activates his ultimate speed, the shadowless sprint. He starts running across the bridge at an incredible speed and makes it to the end. He enters the guard's observation post. He says, "There must be a device to stop this array of machines. Is it set?" He grabs the lever and pulls it to stop the traps. And sure enough, he shuts them down completely. He called out from afar, "I've stopped the machine array. You can cross safely now." Sue is surprised. She says to herself that he's using an advanced light step technique, where a single misstep could mean broken bones. And with such smoothness, given how tough the situation is, seriously, who is this boy? And what's his background? Where did the leader find him? After that, they enter the cave. Then we see a young man saying, "Hey kid, I watched how light your movements were before, and they were really impressive." So our hero thanks him. Then the young man continues, "Have you mastered Master Gu's ultimate shadowless speed technique?" Our hero replies, "Yes, that's right." So Soo Ji-yeon says, "Don't waste your time answering him." Ji-yeon says, "Don't worry about it." The team leader is really stingy with her praise for her followers, so Sue says to him, "I told you, enough wasting time and nonsense." And someone in the group says, "I was surprised a little while ago, but passing the test with such a weak level doesn't really mean anything at all. Just wait and you'll see soon enough. It'll be proven that your level is really low." And we see Sue telling them, "We've arrived." So everyone sets off, and they all jump into the lake one after another. Then our protagonist asks, "What are you guys doing?" Jaeyoon answers him, "By the way, since you joined us at the last minute, maybe you've never heard about this lake before. This lake is connected to the Valley of Wind and Thunder. And if we dive in and cross the inner passage, we'll reach our destination. But the bottom of the lake is full of ice crystals. And just one of them, about the size of a hand, is enough to freeze an entire well. That's why, the moment they enter the well, members have to raise their internal energy for 15 minutes to protect their bodies from the cold. Otherwise, their bodies will turn into blocks of ice and sink to the bottom of the lake. That's why you should wait here. At your age, this technique is pretty much impossible. It's basically a suicide attempt. But our hero says, no, I have no problem with it. Then the man says, hey, hold on, hold on, hold on. What are you trying to do? So our hero replies himself, if fear of death was going to stop me, I wouldn't have come here in the first place. Our hero dives into the lake and says, oh my god, there's so many giant ice crystals. Is this the essence of ice? He starts walking and says, but there's something strange. I can see the other members are in a lot of pain, so there's no doubt the effect of the ice essence is strong. But for some reason, even though I haven't summoned my inner energy yet, I barely feel any cold at all. Could it be because I recently reached the stage of immunity to water and fire? The cold just can't penetrate my body. That didn't cross my mind at the time, but I never expected it would help me like this. Then he arrives, steps out from among everyone, and says that everyone is struggling to regulate their breathing and gather their strength. He walks among them, and one of those present says, he swam in the ink of the ice essence lake, and yet he seems so calm. Impossible! How on earth did he do it? And we see Sue still thinking, saying to herself, his energy is so steady. It's like he's not exerting any effort at all. It's unbelievable. Does this mean that Vice Head Dan Chin didn't send him here for nothing? But the real fight is still waiting for us. Sue says, alright, you all must have recovered your strength by now. Get ready to move out. Our target, the Valley of Wind and Thunder, is right ahead of us. Let's show them the might and power of the Heavenly Spear Corps. And then the battle begins. We see the Wind and Thunder sect advancing, and it's clear their bodies have been modified. The Heavenly Spear Corps charges into attack, and one of them attacks our hero, Ul. Our hero, Yule, blocks the strike, and they land a powerful blow. But that person doesn't seem to feel anything, not even pain. He tries to attack our hero again. Then our hero says himself, they said these are demons of strength created through drugs and body enhancement. It looks like they can't even feel pain. That's why, no matter how badly they're wounded, they keep attacking without caring. How are we supposed to deal with an opponent like that? At that moment, Sue calls out to him from afar and he dodges the attack. So Sue comes in and slices the person who is attacking him in half, telling him, you're in the way, fall back immediately. So our hero retreats and watches as Sue cuts down a lot of those people with fast, powerful, and devastating strikes. He thinks to himself, but Dea took down the power demons that easily? Yeah, I joined the Heavenly Spear Corps to see the techniques of these powerful experts in real combat and to become stronger myself. That's why, from now on, and in the middle of this chaotic battle, I'll observe their sword skills and make them my own. Then another one of them attacks our hero, Ull. But Yule dodges the attack and says, even though the enemy's attacks are raining down on me, I've only been dodging and countering. So I can handle this using the Monster Blade and my maximum shadowless speed. It's clear that the Celestial Spear Corps is crushing these demons. So the tide of the battle won't suddenly turn even if I don't participate myself. That's why I'll seize this golden opportunity to observe and learn combat techniques directly from the experts in the midst of real battle. And he's watching Soul as she swings her sword left and right. He says to himself, this blade technique lands multiple hits with a single strike. How did she do that? This is different from the usual blade techniques. It actually seems closer to a sword style, with lots of thrusts and spins. He tries to imitate the move and says, no, that's not the real feeling. I need to imitate her a bit more. He does the same move. He cuts down one of the people in front of him and says, now I get it. This isn't just a powerful blade technique. It's actually a blade momentum that shifts to match the enemy's attack. He remembers the teacher's words that when a person reaches a high level, they're no longer bound by form or style. At that point, just the way you hold the sword is enough to create beautiful offensive moves. He continues, saying the leader didn't use a specific blade technique. Instead, she simply guided her blade through the gaps that the demons exposed to her. 9 paths in a single sword strike. If I try to apply what I just realized, that should work well. We see Soul watching our hero from afar, and she says to herself, he's been watching me for a while. I wonder what he's thinking about. Our hero attacks one of the monsters, slicing it to pieces, and says, double line curse. That's the best I can do in my current state. Soul is surprised and says to herself, this boy. Could it be that he pulled off 2 strikes with a single blade just by glancing at me? That's the essence of my technique. The maximum momentum of the Heavenly Domination Blade. It took me 2 years to master this level. Then Yule says to himself, it seems it's hard to develop it any further for now. But since I've understood the principle, Next, I'll observe the movements of the vice captain, whose name is Jaeon. Then Jaeon says to himself, this kid was imitating the captain, and now my role is. Since the captain's technique, the maximum momentum of the heavenly domination blade, relies on the beast blade, so maybe he was able to imitate it somehow. But techniques that combine the art of flying daggers and the roaring dragon sword at the same time, there's no way he could copy that just by glancing at it. He grabs some small knives in his hands, and with his sword, he starts slashing left and right at them, saying, what do you think, Yule? You wouldn't even dare to think about it. But here, Jaeon is surprised to see that our hero is holding a spear in one hand and a sword in the other, and he starts slashing left and right at the same time. Jaeon is shocked and says, that's the secret technique for using different martial arts with both hands, the dual mind split for simultaneous use. Usually, the focus is on the flying daggers, but he wasn't fooled by the weapons being used. Instead, his insight reached the essence of my martial arts. So Yul says to himself, I must have copied the deputy leader's technique, but its power is still weak, just as I expected. This isn't a martial art you can master in the blink of an eye. If it weren't for the text about the stray beast battle that I read before, even reaching this level would have been difficult. The one coming up is this guy. His sword style isn't flashy, but he puts tremendous power into every strike. How can such a simple sword movement generate that kind of force? It's hard to understand just by watching. He approaches the corpse and starts looking at it. Then the person our protagonist is watching says, what does this kid think he's doing in the middle of the battlefield? Then our protagonist realizes something and someone attacks him from behind. But our protagonist stabs him and says, now I get it. He finishes off the person in exactly the same way as the guy he was watching. He says to himself, at the moment of clashing with the enemy, he releases true energy at the tip of the sword to maximize destructive power. With that, I have observed all the experts who caught my attention. At that moment, a voice calls out, oh, Wandering Beast's wing. You stray dogs. How dare you cause all this destruction in my valley? I'm gonna tear you all to pieces. So Jaeon says, has he finally come out? Then the master of the Valley of Wind and Thunder, Dubai, descends to confront Suhei and her team. So what will happen next? And what will our hero do? We'll find out all this and more in the upcoming sections, with new chapters coming soon, God willing. And we'll continue the story. So stay tuned for Han's story. And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've made it to this point in the video, write in the comments. The secret word is red ribbon. That's it. Send blessings upon the beloved prophet. Remember God. Thanks for watching.